Hello submates, welcome to Shadows by the Firelight. Tonight, hopefully, we will be finishing Shadows of New York. I say hoping not because I haven't been a good time, because I absolutely have adored Shadows of New York, but I say hopefully because the plan is for next week to be all about a different game. Said game will be Heart of the Forest, the Werewolf the Apocalypse game that we played a couple of weeks back. That back then was the demo we were playing, but the full game is actually releasing tomorrow. And I'm really looking forward to playing it with you here because I've actually already played the game twice. I was allowed to play it for reviewing purposes. So tomorrow I will be uploading to YouTube a spoiler-free review of Werewolf the Apocalypse Heart of the Forest around noonish, maybe half an hour before that. I'll double check the proper timings, but tomorrow, essentially, roughly coinciding with the release of the full game, there will be an upload to YouTube of my full review. I won't talk too much about it tonight because I really want to focus on finishing Shadows of New York so that we can switch games next week without it being weird, because we're definitely switching. My focus is on Werewolf, so even if we're not done with Shadows, next week we're playing Werewolf. That's just a fact. If we have to, we'll get back to finishing Shadows of New York after that. But I want to beat the iron while it's hot, essentially, and play Werewolf essentially as it releases. So I won't be talking too much about it, but I will say that I loved it. There's a good reason why I played it twice, so it's good. It's absolutely good, and I can't wait to share it with you. There are story beats there that I'm looking forward very, very, very much to having people in the chat with me as I play through, me knowing what's going to happen, just to see what the reaction of the chat is going to be, because there's a lot of good stuff there. Let me just lower the angle a little bit so you see less of the top of my desk. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that. There's a few twists that I want to have people with me when we go through them. So that will be next week. And tonight we'll be playing Shadows of New York. Before I load the game, or actually while I load the game, because why not do both? I also wanted to bring attention again this week to Into the Motherland, which is a stream for an upcoming tabletop role-playing game that I think is really amazing, and I want to bring attention to it because they deserve it, plain and simple. It's a game that's coming from the Black community, and it shows in the best way possible. I know some of the team members who are working on it, not on a personal level, but I've crossed paths in conventions and online in conversations on Twitter, and a lot of them are just really good people, and some of them are people that I admire. And they banded together to make a game that was inspired by their ancestry and their roots. And it's fresh, it's original, it's different, it's good. The approach to this system is different. The way that it's not just about whether or not a character is good at something or strong at something. It's also about how deeply is a character connected thematically and emotionally to something. If a task lines up with the values of a character, it's more likely to succeed, which makes sense because the character will be much more motivated to doing it right. So let me just open the window for a second. It's getting a bit hot in here. So I'm intrigued by the system, but I'm way more intrigued by the setting. It's a sci-fi setting, which for me is always a good thing. and I'm really looking forward to seeing where they will be going with this. From what I saw, the gist of it is that a some ships a long time ago that were sent on an expedition got stranded in the storm, and they found a mysterious cavern. They decided to cross that cavern for safety, essentially, but it turned out to be that they were walking in that same cavern for days and weeks until they ended up on the other side on a completely different planet. And they've established themselves there. They built a new life there, essentially, starting a new and different culture. Let's say pre-European expansion, pre all of the bad blood that came after that. So it's a people that is free of all of that baggage, and I really like that they went in that direction. It's a deep setting. It's a setting that obviously means a lot to that community, and their love of that setting shows, I think, in just about every detail they've revealed so far. I don't know a lot more than that. They started their first game yesterday, and I'm about halfway through. So I know a few of the cultures, and all of them are fascinating and very interesting. And oh god, I love their chief engineer, who's some kind of a very serious, very deep-voiced elephant type character, because a lot of the cultures there are based, so far anyway, on animals, African animals, but anthropomorphized, I guess. And he's really interesting, and the way the storyteller plays him is really fun, because as I said, he's really deep voiced because it's a big creature, but as soon as he's really excited, it's an elephant, so he gets really shrill, really high, like an elephant, essentially, with the trunk. It's really visual, it's really visceral. I really like how all of these characters are being portrayed, and the cultures look to be truly refreshing. In particular, their androids I really like. They're all about essentially beauty, but their definition of beauty is essentially how close to your original self you're staying. So for them, it's sort of a badge of honor to still have as many of your original parts that you had. So one of the characters they've had so far is a character that has some difficulty speaking. When that character is talking, a lot of words are being repeated because the character still has their original voice box, and it's just not really up to snuff anymore. But that is a badge of honor. That is something that she's proud of, still having this very old part inside of her. So it's really cool. It's really interesting. So I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the episode when I have a minute, and maybe eventually one day, if my schedule allows me, actually being in the chat live one day. I would like that if I can. But still, I recommend it. It's a super cool setting, done by a bunch of really cool people, so please give it a shot. Now, back to our vampires. Let me just, again, it's still hot. Allow me just a second to remove a layer. Here we go. So last week, a lot of stuff happened, really. Wow, I don't even know where to start to go over everything that happened. We met two of the signature characters. We met Hope, a signature character, sorry. Two of the characters from the first game. All of the 4 names that were on the paper, essentially. So now we're up to 3. There's only 1 left, which is why I'm thinking the game is probably ending soon. So we met Hope, which was the Malkavian, who has a lot of issues with her sire, and apparently her sire would be the one who made the list and sold the list. The list being people who are unaffiliated in the city that people could use their advantage potentially. So that was a list that he sold, because apparently his goal is to become the prince, essentially, overthrow Prince Panhard. That's what Hope told us, anyway. So we confronted him with it, and he was really not happy about it. But we lied. We made it appear like we had known about the list and that he was the one who made it, not from his child, but from another Nosferatu character that we haven't met yet in this game, but who was one of the important players in the previous one. In the chat, Nomad says, "Hello, Yoden." Hi, Nomad. Thanks for coming in. If you just came in quickly, right now I'm wrapping last week so we can keep going. I also spent a couple of minutes talking about the really cool stream about Into the Motherlands, and also I spoke that next week we'll be playing Heart of the Forest, because tomorrow it's coming out. The werewolf game, the highly anticipated werewolf game coming out tomorrow. And I also mentioned that I will be releasing a full review, a full spoiler-free review tomorrow, because I have actually played the game twice. So tomorrow I'll be making rounds on Facebook and so on to spread the link so people can see the review and hopefully be interested in the game, because I liked it. I think it's awesome, and I hope a lot of people get to enjoy it. So, back to this, yes. So Hope led us there, and I don't think a lot more than that came out of it. Then we met, I think her name is Tamika, the gangrel, who was really cool. I really, really liked her. I tried to do something with the voice. I got inspired as I was reading her lines. I thought she was really badass, and the character that came to me as being the right kind of badass was I forget his name. Karen. The in the John Wick movies, the guy who he guards the dog in the second movie, but the one he's always welcoming John Wick in the hotels. I really liked that person's voice, so that was my inspiration for Tamika. And I don't know how it sounded to you guys. I don't know if I nailed it, but that's the voice I tried to give her. And we didn't learn that much from her, actually. She's a badass, we know that for sure. She killed a bunch of Second Inquisition agents, and we helped her escape the city. But before doing that, she helped us talk to Torque, which is essentially the de facto Baron of New York, the leader of the faction of the Anarchs. And we really didn't get that much out of him either. In the process of doing that, we had a weird dream vision thing where the ghosts we've been seeing talked to our character Julia and told her what to say. So when she came out of the dream, she knew what to tell Tamika so Tamika wouldn't kill her. That was interesting. I don't know quite where they're going with this, but that was cool. And after that, what happened after that? Does the chat remember? Was there something else after that? Tamika left. We met 3. No, I think that was it. Mostly. Oh yeah. We played matchmaker kind of with this weird, completely mortal looking guy from what it looks like, who was trying to sneak into an apartment that I think is the house of the thin-blooded Primogen. And we told him to essentially man up and try to talk to the father of the girl he's into. So let's see how that plays out. In the chat, No Man says, I smile with too much teeth. Right, that was probably in response to Werewolf, I think. Whether about the fact that the game is good or that I got to play it early, either way, I'm definitely smiling with way too much teeth as well. I did not expect that to be given the opportunity. I did not expect that opportunity at all, and when it fell on my desk, I was just ecstatic. Nomad says, yep, Lance Reddick plays Karen, and he has indeed a great voice and charisma. Absolutely. It's one of my favorite actors, I have to say. I don't have a huge list of actors that I really like, but I think... I didn't even know his name. Lance Reddick. Okay, I have to remember his name. I think he steals the screen in anything he's in, essentially. He's very charismatic. That's definitely the right word. Nomad has the right of that. He's very charismatic, and his voice has a timbre and a not a flavor. I'm not sure the word I'm looking for. Texture. His voice is a texture that very few people have. So yeah, I really like him. So I tried. I really have no idea if I nailed him, but in the zone, it felt like the right voice to give her, so I went with it. So tonight, we are playing some Vampire, and I've already been talking for 20 minutes, so it's time to stop. Let's start this game, and again, hopefully finish it. So, where were we again? We had an aristocratic taste. All this malaise spreading through the burrows is putting me in a weird mood. Seems like I can't outrun it, so maybe I'll intensify it instead. Smallpox hospital, here I come. So she wants to intensify... She wants to spread the disease? That's not cool. We're not doing that. The other one is a familiar smile. It took just 2 days for the city to go all the last man on Earth. I probably won't have a better chance to soak in the atmosphere. That's a weird thing to want to soak into. Those two options sound like we're going to be dealing with the COVID, I guess. We've been saying last week how so far the game has been handling it well. I'm not so sure. Those two choices seem to be veering in weird directions. That lady's familiar, though, I think. Does the chat recognize her? I think we've seen her before. Didn't we have the same picture in a choice before? I don't remember. Also, if chat has a preference to those options, I'm definitely willing to go with the first option that pops in the chat, because frankly, I'm not sure what either of those two options are going for, so fine either way. It looks the same to me. I agree, honestly. Okay, well, in that case, I guess I'll make the call. This one seems to be about spreading the illness, which is just not something I'm going to do, and honestly, I don't think even a ruthless vampire would do. I mean, why would you make your flock, your source of food, sick? That's just weird. So let's not do that. I'm going to go with this one, I guess. And it also says a familiar smile, so maybe it's gonna be something we're gonna learn in Julie's background. So we said last week we go feeding, I think. Yeah, but I mean, I guess this one's the feeding? It's not very clear. Right, I'm going with this one. Sounds like the most interesting one. We don't have enough to go with that one, and this one at least seems like we might learn something interesting, so let's go with that. If someone asked me right at this moment how to define the meaning of the word eerie, I'd look them straight in the eye and say, just take a look around, idiot. But with the exception of a few stray dogs, there's no one around to ask. This isn't the New York I've come to know. I can't help but perceive it as artificial, real, but with an uncanny apocalyptic quality. Like a city-wide roleplay of some trashy post-apo flick. Like I was Will Smith in I Am Legend? Hell, this is probably the first time anybody has thought of I Am Legend in the last 10 years. The film version, anyway. I keep walking the streets. Sorry. I keep walking the empty streets until suddenly. Hey! Julia! Julia! Streets reveal themselves as less empty than I previously thought. Charlie? Sheesh. Been a long time. Julia! Why are you so stupid? Wow. That's not the line I choose to open a touching reunion with. The last time we met, he was working at Karma Circle, one of those vegan places that pride themselves on hiring workers with disabilities. Went there for the first time 2 years ago or so with Dakota. Charles here was our waiter. He heard us arguing about something stupid and rushed to Dakota's defense. And in Charlie's mind, the best defense is a merciless offense. He roasted my formal clothes, silly mannerisms, general behavior, and specific arguments so ruthlessly, Dakota had a 10-minute-long laughing fit. The manager overheard him and apologized. But I didn't mind. I've always liked underdogs who can stand their ground. We even became online friends so that we could roast each other on Messenger. And he can do that using emojis alone. People are getting sick. You're irresponsible. I need to take you home. I was just heading there, Charlie. No need to worry about me. But I was worried. You never answer my messages these days. Yeah, that's not exactly an option right now, is it? Especially during the day. If you have to contact me, you need to do it through Dakota. I've decided not to use smartphones anymore. You know, to keep my head clearer and all. I think you just got tired of breaking them. You always were so clumsy. Your screen was always cracked. You were always thinking a lot while your hands were doing something stupid. As I said, ruthless. And is Dakota good? You two still gal pals? Okay, so here, I mean, ideally not cross paths with someone from back when we were alive, but now that we're alive, should I be even admitting that I still know Dakota? That sounds like something we shouldn't be doing. But since we're being very open and not dodging this person, I suppose we'll be open, because that's kind of the vibe Julia's in right now. We are. Very good gal pals. That's good. You aren't practical. You're a mess girl. You need someone close to take care of you. Psh, come on, said the guy who still lives with his mom. Yep, we're the same. That's how I know. He says that with such an innocent smile and so much conviction, I feel thoroughly owned. No use fighting back. Switching to sincerity mode. It's just that, don't tell her this, but I'm not sure if we're making each other happy, and that worries me, like, a lot, you know? Ha! That's because you're being stupid. Hey, I'm being honest now, don't be mean. I didn't say you're stupid, but that you're being stupid. There's a difference. Guess that's something your mom says all the time, huh? When you're in the head for too long, you always trip over a glass of water or break your phone. That's when they call you stupid. When you argue or when you joke, that's good. That's progress. I guess. It's more complicated than that, or you're a philosopher now? Shit, Charles. When did you become a philosopher? I read a lot. Probably more than you do. Probably, yeah. I'm lazy as hell. I just pick the pages that look interesting. Are you still a journalist? Me? No, they fired me. Good. Good? Seriously? Yeah. Mom reads Lodestar sometimes. She says it's trash. I'm happy you're not trash. Thank you. That means a lot. And how is Karma Circle? You're still working there? Nah, they fired me. Oh. Jesus, I'm sorry because of the virus. Devilishly. Yeah, I'll turn this around on him. Good. No, not good. If they fired you, that means they're trash. And you deserve better than to work for people who are trash. Ah, you're just saying that. It makes a coquettish gesture that makes me burst out laughing. And how's your mom? She's sick and doesn't want me to come by her room. She sent me out to the pharmacy to get her medicine. You know, fucked. I hope it's not serious. It's stupid. We have to take care of each other, but we can't even see each other, you know? Now I feel like trash for wanting to complain about my own troubles. You doing good? Yeah, I'm strong. He poses like a macho man. I laugh. You stay strong, Julia. You stay strong too, Julia. And write something from time to time. No promises. Hey, if I'm forced to be an asshole to Dakota and we stop being gal pals, will you forgive me? Let me think. An exaggerated poser pose. Sorry, an exaggerated thinker pause. I swear, this dude. No. Then he turns away and disappears into the night. I swear, I don't know how to handle this guy. He always has to have the final word, even against a vampire. It's probably why I still respect him so much. Ah well. Time to follow suit and make myself scarce. The time comes for me to meet up with Kadir, and hopefully, D'Angelo too. The last position on my list. This better be good. And that is D'Angelo's agency. Looks like a dump. Blech. Perfect for the clan of the hidden. I thought he wasn't hidden. I thought he was missing. And to be honest, I kind of expected the worst. Why would we look for him in the most obvious place? I've been asking around, and I've got a hunch. Just trust it and stop looking. Fine. Who is D'Angelo anyway? He's a good man, a useful man. But it took me time to get used to him. He takes sleuthing very, very seriously. His thing is acting like an idiosyncratic noir detective. I heard it helps him cope with something, but I never felt comfortable tackling this subject. Doesn't sound too quirky by the city standards. Wait, what is that? There's a rat on the floor, frozen in an unnatural position. Weird shit. Well, we're examining it for sure. Despite my disgust, I pick up the rodent. Now, that's what being an investigator is all about. Leave no stone unturned. Shut up. This is so gross. What have you found out? I take a close, hard look at the rat. It's alive, but from what I see, he's just stretching out and, like, grinding his teeth without a care in the world. That's called bruxing. It is. What? When a rat chatters its teeth, that's bruxing. He's not acting panicked or aggressive, so I guess he's just happy. Kadir knows a lot about rats, that's true. Rats can do bruxing when they're aggressive or scared or happy. That's very confusing. We owned rats for several years with no idea if they were happy or not ever. I look at its face. I don't know. His eyes keep coming out of the sockets and going back in. It looks disgusting. Like he's in a lot of pain. So he's boggling. He must be really content. That's true. They do that too. How does he know so much about... Never mind. I'm getting an eerie feeling. This is weird, man. I have a feeling there's a kindred hiding nearby. Weird. My thoughts. Exactly. So, before we move on, Nosferatu have powers, of course, like any other vampire clans. We haven't really talked about the Nosferatu so far, have we? Right. When we got Hope, we didn't talk about their powers either. Okay, let's go back a little bit to Malkavians. We spend a lot of time talking about the Malkavians in terms of who they are as a clan, so I'm not going to go into that, but I will explore their powers a bit. Depending on the editions, they have either Dementation or Dominate, and those are two very different powers. Dominate is about mind control, to keep it simple. It can be used, for example, to give commands or to play with someone's memories. Also, the other one that they had for, I think, either revived or second edition was dementation, and it was all about spreading their mental issues. Not sure what the proper word for that would be. I apologize if it wasn't the right one. Um, so mechanically, what it did essentially is give people derangements for a certain amount of time, or it allowed themselves to manifest things from their mind, essentially, to use them to fight people. In the books that we were talking about, the clan books that occurred in New York, there was a major battle in New York that happened to be won by one very, very old Malkavian who had been, among other things, in the Civil Wars, if I remember correctly. And he used that power, dementation, to essentially summon an entire platoon of soldiers in the middle of the fight. So people were fighting. Vampires were using vampiric powers, and it was flashy and all. And all of a sudden, there's like these 30 guys with guns in the room, dressed as the Civil War era, just shooting people down. That was pretty awesome, and changed pretty much the tide of battle in the Camarillah's favor. Their other powers, they can turn invisible, but not really invisible. You know, the power that I think I've mentioned before that makes people think you're not there, so you can act, and people won't take you into account. You're not actually invisible. And their other power is potence, so strength, the ability to lift very heavy things and throw cards and stuff. Which brings us to the Nosferatu, because D'Angelo is a Nosferatu. They are the clan who they have a hard time. Essentially, when they get embraced, their body morphs, transforms into something that is very disturbing. It takes a couple of days of excruciating pain before they're done. And when they're done, they're just very ugly. And we're not talking maybe a scar or something like that. We're talking hunchback. We're talking having sometimes insects living in your flesh that will just like poke out for a minute and just like make another hole and then go back in. They're gross, essentially. They're meant to be disturbingly ugly. So they have developed essentially all kinds of skill sets to still have a place in vampiric society, but in the background, essentially. So they also have the ability to be invisible, but not, which they use a lot in many different ways to sneak in and out of places where there shouldn't be, and that is one of their greatest strengths because that allows them to know a lot of things that others don't. So usually Nosferatu are the backbone of the information black market in the city, essentially. Which is the case of the character whose name I forgot right now, but the one who we said sold the list, even though it's not true. It's very believable because that's exactly the kind of thing that Nosferatu do. This one is D'Angelo, and he's more of a investigator, private eye kind of a vampire in the city. The other two powers that they have, after I think they have potence as well. They can also be strong lift cards, and their last power is animalism, which is why I've been talking all this time. The rat here. That's acting weird. Animalism is the power over animals, and that can include the beast, the monstrous nature of the vampire. They have a few powers that can affect the beast. But here, I'm thinking it's not random that we have a rat that's acting weird. It might very well be under the direct control of D'Angelo at this time. Stanel says, "Hi, sorry to be late." Hello, Stanel. I'm glad to see you're here. Welcome. You didn't miss much. I just started, essentially. I won't recap the whole thing. Sorry, because I want to get going. But just to get you up to speed in the game per se, we met an old friend of Julia who was a bit mean, I guess. Didn't learn much, to be honest. He asked if Dakota was fine. So it was an interesting scene, but I don't think it is very relevant in terms of the rest of the game. And now we met up with Kadir to go and meet up with D'Angelo, who has apparently disappeared. But before that, since you're here, tomorrow, Heart of the Forest comes out. If you missed that part in the beginning, that's the big part. That's the part I want to say again. Heart of the Forest comes out tomorrow, and I've played it. It's awesome. And there will be a review. I'll shoot the link through Facebook. Sorry. There will be a review tomorrow around the same time the game comes out. And next week we'll be playing Heart of the Forest. Even if we're not done with Vampire, next week we'll be playing Heart of the Forest because it's awesome, and I just can't wait to share it with everyone. Stanel says nice. Yes, absolutely, it's nice. I'm super excited, but again, I don't want to make tonight's stream about Heart of the Forest because that'll be all next week. Tonight I want to focus on vampires. So here goes. Kadir slowly approaches a secluded corner of the room. And there it is. He kicks a pile of clothes lying on the floor. This is a corpse. Leave me alone. Lucky for you, we're all corpses here, D'Angelo. You're among friends. Well, for a guy who disappeared, he was not hard to find. Clumsily, drunkenly, the pile of clothes transforms into an unkempt man who looks like he's suffering from some sort of skin disease. You know, a true friend would just bury me. Unlucky for you, we're not that kind of friends. Lucky, unlucky, schmucky my ass. How did you guess I was here? See, I've been asking around for the past few days. What I've learned is that, for reasons that can be best described as nebulous, you've made quite a few enemies since last year. Yeah, tell me something I don't know. And one thing that caught my interest is how everyone has it on good authority that your place was raided a few times without you being found, yet nobody has assumed responsibility for these acts. Hell, doesn't this den always look like it was just raided? Can't blame anyone for making an educated assumption. I had a hunch these might be more than rumors. See, it sure looks like a convenient coincidence when everyone hears something that makes them look the other way, and coincidences, awful fools. Well, you've got my number, and you can see my ugly mug right in front of you, so it's no use playing them, I suppose. Agreed. You've seriously spent all these weeks holed up in here? Is the hunger not getting to you? You got a lot of critters around this area, and we've become chums. Some of these rats actually got addicted to the kiss. They come to me every night, acting like coke hounds, begging for it. Oh my god, okay. The rat was happy because of the kiss, not because of animalism. Holy crap. Okay, that's a new thing, though. As far as I know, the kiss and all kinds of things that has to do with feeding does not apply to animals. In the past, anyway. Maybe that's new in V5. You could feed on animals. It was possible. You just needed a lot more of it to get the same results, but you could feed on animals. As far as I know, though, couple of rules are different. Like, for example, if you feed your own blood to an animal to make it a ghoul, it works, but the ghoul loses its mind, essentially. It's not like a normal human. I'm sorry, it's not like a human who remains normal. They just become more attached to you. But an animal becomes dangerous. They become rabid, essentially, on vampiric blood. And they become also very, very problematically loyal to their master. Essentially, no one else can approach. They will just destroy anyone else that comes into their line of sight. And last week, if you remember, we were talking about alligators. That's kind of what I was referring to. In essentially, Nosferatu tend to hang around sewers. It's a convenient place where no one else likes to go, so they can be there. They can be at peace in there, essentially. And one of their techniques for protection is to make what they're called, I think they're calling them spawning pool or something like that. They just essentially drop blood from the whole community in a drinking spot where the rats come in and where the alligators come in. The game was saying last week that it's just a myth. There aren't actually alligators in the sewers, but apparently vampires, previous editions, didn't care that it was a myth because there were alligators who drank from these pools of water, and they were a very, very convenient way of protecting your sewers because they would just kill anything and everything passing by there. So just imagine an alligator with supernatural vampiric powers, like celerity, going fast, potency, being able to throw cars, or fortitude, being able to survive a car being thrown at you. So they were very dangerous. So that alone was enough that most people did not dare go into the sewers unless they were accompanied by a Nosferatu to show them the safe paths through. They come to me every night, acting like cokehounds, begging for it. Been getting them drunks just to get some rush out of feeding on them. Feels a bit like slathering a horribly burned piece of pizza in ketchup, but in this situation, I'll take what I can get, you dig? It's so gross I fail to keep my poker face. He notices. So, who's the dame? Julia Sawinski, a detective investigating Baron Callahan's death. He raises his head for a short while to stare in Kadir's eyes and treat him with a vulgar snicker. So somebody finally put the old man on ice. Whoever did it did the world a huge favor. Absolutely. But I got orders to establish who that was. And I've been stumbling in the dark for the past few days. We need your help. I'll be damned. Your sleuth skills must not be up to par if you're begging a bum for help. Not exactly a sleuth. It's an unusual case. Have some dignity, man. Yeah, we're not going to ask a Nosferatu to have dignity. Some of them do, but this one doesn't. So let's go with it's an unusual case. Also, it's extremely political. I asked, how? Nice. How is it unusual? Because it's always political. In Vampire, it's always political. It feels like the game was rigged against me from the start. Like, I'm just bubbling around and achieving nothing while everyone laughs behind my back. Jeez. You sound hopeless, kiddo. Haven't you ever read a Chandler book? That's all it always is. Just do your best, endure the embarrassment, and hope that you stumble on the answer by accident. He accidentally lets a metal flask in his hand slip out and fall to the floor, then struggles to pick it up. Kadir can't bear to watch. God, what happened to you, Gianni? I've never seen you this low before. Stress-related disorders causing a disruption in my routine is what I think a shrink would say. Happens when a lot of shady folks are out to put a stake through your chest. Help us out. Tell us what you know, and we might be able to help you in return. Yeah, respect where it's due, miss. I think it's going to be the other way around. I ain't telling the two of you shit, pardon my French, until I know I can count on some protection. Gianni. Don't you Gianni me, Kadir Al-Azmeh. I know your level, but I also know that your honor is one of the few things you care about. You want me to endanger myself, you put it on the line for me. And that's that. You either promise to extend your protection to me, or the moment you step away from here, I sneak away into the sewers, and that's the last time you'll ever see me. Kadir shoots me a weary sideways glance. I know. He drives a hard bargain, especially for someone whose sense of self-worth does not exactly appear to be sky-high at the moment. Maybe, but I do value my own life quite a lot. Thank you very much, friends. Kadir sighs. Alright, but 3 months from now, or the moment Prince Panhards tell me it's no longer possible for the court to offer you safety without compromising its principles, you're on your own. No negotiations, that's the only deal I can strike with you. Take it or leave it. D'Angelo scratches his head, grunts loudly, tugs on his mask, and stands up. That's Jake with me, big fella. I might have strong opinions about Panhard, but hell, Sydney on dynamite. I'll take what I can get. Who else in New York would you rather rely on? You want me to call the mayor? My opinions about the prince aren't that bad, so what do you good folks want from me? I'm gonna close the window. Sorry about that. Getting a bit cold. Yeah, so I have a bit of an issue with, well, not an issue, but I think D'Angelo is fine in the sense that he doesn't look as bad as a Nosferatu should be, or at least as far as the clan books make us believe that they are. There are entire sections in their book on how to play Nosferatu about some features you can give them to make them more and more grotesque. And I mean, here, honestly, it's a guy with bad skin. That's it. He's cool. I really like the character. There's no complaint there. But Nosferatu, at least in some versions, can't walk in the street because they are, just looking at them, they're a masquerade breach. They have to walk around in the sewers not to be seen. That's the whole point of the sewers. If they're in the surface, they have to put a power called Mask of 1,000 Faces. It's one of the powers of obtenebration, the one that makes you invisible, but not really. Instead of making you invisible, it makes you look different, essentially. So they can walk in the street without looking monstrous, essentially. People will just see a regular person walking. But here, he's not using that power because then he would be better than what he is. He wouldn't just look like someone with a bad skin condition. So he's definitely not gotten that power on, which means he should be a lot worse than what we're seeing. Unless maybe that's something they toned down for V5. I admit, I'm not sure. I'd have to read the book again for that. But it doesn't really fit the visual that I have in mind when I'm thinking about Nosferatu anyway. Who wants you dead? Starting the interrogation with a tricky one. Wouldn't I like to know? Step up, Gianni. You seem to be forgetting how quid pro quo works. Wouldn't I like to know won't cut it. What can I tell you? That warlock, Agathion, or whatever his name is, presumed dead. Tanika, MIA with SI on her back, so possibly KIA by now. Hope, the cook, hidden in her office under Vanda Vaden's skirt. Around the time they started having trouble, some rough-looking streetwise kindred started hanging out at my usual spots. Didn't take me long to connect the dots. Wait, what is the connection between you and those three? Ever since last year, folks started hiring us for various gigs. Some even trying to get us to join their coteries. All of these opportunities were rather short lived. However, the delicate tightrope act of working for various employers made us fully aware there's an intrasect alliance in NYC. Kindred from both sides often work for the same goals without knowing it. The moment we started figuring it all out, a cleanup crew went downtown. I know this serious warlock boy sniffed something out in his own backyard, but then, poof, he disappeared. Then I lost all contact with Hope and Tamika and went AWOL. Hope they're doing fine, and they didn't snitch on me to anybody. They are. And they didn't even tell me you guys knew each other, so I think you're safe. Oh, wait a second. Why are you milking him for intel, kiddo? I found a list of 4 names on Callahan's remains. You can probably guess what they were. I get the picture, yeah. Christ almighty. I heard it was just a list of freelancers, potential associates. Probably prepared by Carter Vandervaden. Mm. My money is on him being involved, but I smell bullshit. Have you got any idea who might have done the bossing? Any more clues? None at all. That's where we want you to come in, friend. Investigate the murder scene the way only you know how. Tell us what you think. Guide Julia in the proper direction. D'Angelo sizes me up, scratching his head. Sure, whatever. I'll try my best, kiddo. Lead the way. I'll drive you there, or at least as close as possible. I wouldn't be welcomed that deep in Anarch territory. Just clean yourself up a bit, Yanni. I just had my upholstery cleaned earlier this week. Well, that was great. I was expecting a conversation. After dropping us off at the same place Catherine first introduced me to Mia, Kadir quickly drives away. Here we are. Swell. A classic closed room mystery. Let me take a look. He starts walking around the office, carefully taking in every element. So, you're saying you're basically a nobody, but you can simply call Catherine Weiss and have her open Sesame and Anarch crib for you? Don't know. Sure sounds like somebody to me. Don't misunderstand. I only met her during the course of this investigation. Everyone's basically been treating me like dirt wherever I go, and I'm only acknowledged enough to be legitimate. And I'm only acknowledged enough to legitimize this sham. Lord Castlereagh. What? Now that was an abrupt interruption. I was busy sharing, damn it. Excuse me. He's pointing at the painting of the man overseeing this entire office. I met Murder on the way. He had a mask like Castlereagh. Not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. Very smooth he looked, yet grim. Yet grim. 7 bloodhounds followed him. He seems to have completely switched his modus operandi upon seeing the murder scene. He's in his own little world, and his behavior has become more machine. Okay, no, more machine-like. Okay. His behavior has become more machine-like, erratic. I still don't follow. I never knew the old Irish coot was in the Napoleonic era. But then again, I've no idea about his exact age, of course. So maybe that's when he lived, or was born. Anywho, pay minimal attention to me, alright? Who am I looking at here? Right. That one's Lord Castlereagh, born as Robert Stewart, a British Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs at the beginning of the 18th century. Incredibly influential, incredibly hated. Ask one fella about Castlereagh, and he'll tell you. He was the man who destroyed Napoleon for good, the man who shaped British politics for ages, the man who built the foundations for European unity at Vienna. Ask another fella, and he'll tell you he was the man who destroyed the Irish Parliament, the man who cracked down on any possibility of reform, and then supported the cavalry massacring peaceful protesters. Spouting these facts like a computer. Is that the hint of a detective's photographic memory? I have to say it's downright perverted for an Irishman to put up Castlereagh's portrait in his office. Definite proof that our victim was sick in the head. Ugh, as if we needed more evidence there. Probably idolized him too. Maybe identified with him even. Yeah, that's possible. Callahan and his Hilk adored those jagoffs who strive to reach across the aisles and achieve hard compromises. Too bad nobody else ever remembers them well. I feel like I should say something. I've got this nagging feeling in the back of my mind. So, that was his role model, huh? How did he die? Or he's pretty good looking? Let's not go there. Let's not insult the Nosferatu. So how did he die? Or role model? I don't care that much about his role model. We're not here to get into Callahan's head. He's dead. But we would like to know how he died. That's what we're here for. So I'm gonna go with this one. Oh, we're talking about Castlereich, how he died. Okay. Committed suicide in the 1920s. In the 1820s. His family took every sharp item away from him, but he was, well, dedicated. Why did he do it? Pressure is mounting from all sides. Deserved hate coming from all sides. Plain old overwork. Also might have gone nuts. Keep saying you saw ghosts. Otherworldly silhouettes were gunning him, yada yada. An unpleasant feeling grows in my stomach. Also, there's a rumor someone was threatening to expose him as a homosexual. Having to choose between being publicly denounced and ending it all by his own hand, he chose the latter. Well, that's just depressing. Maybe. The silver lining is, couldn't have happened to a nicer fella. He stops above Callahan's corpse and laughs. Posterity will ne'er survey a nobler grave than this. Here lies the bones of Castlereich. Stop, traveler, and piss. And he kicks his bones with glee, causing me to jump a little. Is he still under the influence? Isn't that tampering with the crime scene? Kiddo, as far as I can see, this crime scene has been fucked with three times over. Can't really be ruined more than it already has. I agree, but it looked about the same the last time I was here. Then it was already a total mess before you ever got here. Whatever. Standing by the metal shutters on the window, he abruptly changes the topic. Lightproof. Have you toyed with these? No. In general, I avoid machinery like that. It doesn't like me and I don't like it. They don't like you? They don't work properly. It's like I give technology an allergy. Sometimes industrial cameras mess up my face, sometimes I can't use a phone. You'd think it could be useful, but it's just a curse. I see. You think these blinds could have been the murder weapon? Interesting. Didn't they say that he was the only one who could control them? I think they've established that. I'm gonna go with this. Yeah, I did entertain the possibility. For just in case maybe someone hasn't picked up on that, the reference here being, of course, that the sunlight essentially kills vampires. So if these were improperly rigged, well, it would have let sunlight in and potentially killed the guy. It's not super quick though. Mechanically speaking, we're talking about one aggravated point per couple of seconds. So he would have had plenty of time to flee the room. But it looks like he just kind of died on the spot, so that's a bit weird. I see in the chat that we seem to have a bot in search of followers, primes, and views. Come on, bigfollows.com. Bigfollows.com. Yeah, that's definitely a bot. I don't know how to kick bots. How do we do that? What's the name? Imschmuck something. Okay. Well, doesn't appear to be in the room anymore, so we'll leave it as that. Yeah, I did entertain the possibility. Would make sense, wouldn't it? Let's say for some reason our stiff was standing there as the sun was rising. Maybe staring at poor old Castlereich, looking for a soulmate to accompany him to the other side. Yet another guy pushed to suicide by politics. Pretty old school, romantic, yada yada. Oh, okay. If we're going with the theory that it's really suicide, like his role model, yeah, he would have just stood there, I suppose. Um, One of the issues with that, though, is the beast wouldn't allow it, most likely. The beast would have wanted to survive, but meh. Or maybe it was torpor. Or maybe it was a freak accident. Or maybe it was premeditated. In any case, sunlight would be a perfect mortar weapon, no? He takes off the mask to shoot at his figured smile my way. Well, it's just a theory anyway. Well, it sounds sound. Does it? Because I was just spitballing. It's practically impossible to make certain now, kiddo. The most logical cause of death would be damage to the heart, and that can easily be done without damage to the skeleton. And he sets off with a wink. What are they playing at here? The safe. Anyone made a crack at it yet? As far as I know, only Callahan knew the code, and the safe itself is pretty hard to crack. Watch me, kiddo. He presses an ear to the safe and slowly begins to rotate the dial. Stop clowning around. You're a safe cracker now? When you're curious with countenance such as mine, and you decide on a job such as mine, you gotta be a jack of all trades. Yeah, but still sounds pretty hard. Last year there was a random feller visiting a heritage museum in Alberta. He found a safe that hasn't been opened in 40 years. Not a single specialist, not even his blacksmith could handle it. The man just studied the numbering, listened closely to the mechanism, attempted the most sensible combinations, and voila, the unthinkable happened. That's where just trusting your instincts leads you. Too bad he found nothing inside but an old pay sheet. With that screech, the door's open. I'll be damned. It looks like we've got the same case here. Confetti. A few random papers scattered around. But for what it's worth, the lock has obvious traces of mechanical manipulation. Probably recent too. Reeks of foul play. But what do we know for sure, really? I'm done here. You can take over. Another wink, another walk in a random direction. I look inside the safe. Quite spacious. I haphazardly grab everything that's left inside the safe and hide it on my person, and close the door so that nobody knows he managed to crack it. When I turned around, he's monitoring me to come closer to a sheet of paper lying on the desk. So yeah, kiddo, you probably know the entire beeswax about Schrodinger's cat, so I'm not gonna bore you with that, but honestly, anything could have happened here. I read the text he's written on the empty page. This place is wired. It gives me the chills. I think I'm okay. I've tried to record my own voice a bunch of times on different hardware just to see if I can. It mostly comes out as noise. He nods, then starts scribbling something else as he continues blabbering on and on. The best strategy would be to make an educated guess about what happened here, then interrogate everyone about it. Maybe it'll take someone by surprise. Drop a hook on him. The wiretap is a chip in the broken glass bottle on the floor. Absolutely sure it belongs to Kaiser. Kaiser, that's the other Nosferatu. There we go. Kaiser, the elusive information broker, the talk of the city. Finally got an excuse to nab him. I understand. I think I have an idea of how to use it to find him. Should I notify Kadir? Scribble, scribble. Takes longer than before. So yeah, I'll be meeting up with Kadir. You stay here, sister. Maybe there's something you've been missing. Your call, doll. You're going beyond his jurisdiction, so he will try to stop you. Whatever you do, just give me a 10-minute heads up, so I can get to relative safety. For sure. It's back into the sheriff's custody for me. See you around, Julia. Sorry this old codger couldn't have been more help. It was more than enough. Eventually let Kadir know. I will get his ass. Gonna go with this. Whatever it got was plenty. See you around, D'Angelo. I've got a plan. Now, all I need to execute it is a clueless bystander. This guy will do. Do you, like, need me for anything else? Not really. Better take a hike before the guy you've just called shows up. I can't guarantee he won't make you hurt. Will do. He puts his head down and obediently trots away down the street. I might have messed with his head a little too much, using my wily kindred charms, but I needed him to tell Kaiser where I want to meet, quite clearly, multiple times. I would have given him the kiss as thanks at least, but I told the big man I won't be here all night and that he'd better hurry up, so I want to be ready whenever he comes. Less than 15 minutes later, a menacing black limo takes a fast, sharp turn Sorry. I think there's an extra S here. A fast, sharp turn onto my street. Yeah. And stops right in front of me. Suddenly, something like an acid flashback hits me. I know this limo. I've seen it all around over the past few days, but never thought it might be tailing me. Still, it must have. Looks like I'm finally about to get some answers. Doors open, and a raspy voice comes from inside. Get the fuck in, Sowinski. I smile and accept the investigation. There he is, Kaiser, king of New York City's information highways, surrounded by screens, speakers, and newfangled technological gizmos of all kinds. See, that's a lot closer to a normal, well, not a normal, but a Nosferatu in my mind. That does not look human. That's what I expect to see when I'm thinking Nosferatu. So before we get into that, I'm going to take a short break. I don't usually take breaks, but I'm going to need one tonight. I was giving a rather deep voice to D'Angelo, and it's taking its toll, so I'm just going to go try to fix that. I'll be right back. Let's say 5 minutes, roughly. I will be right back. And we're back. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure that I wouldn't break my voice too much for the rest of the evening. We've already been playing an hour, but we seem to have done the D'Angelo part already, so it's telling me that we're probably going towards the end game. We're confronting Kaiser, which was a big turning point, I believe, in the first game as well, so I'm thinking we'll be on time. We might do a little bit more than 2 hours tonight, but I'm pretty sure we're going towards the end game, which is exactly the plan, so perfect. First impressions. Is one repulsive son of a bitch. D'Angelo was also a sewer rat, and he might have had similar physical disadvantages, but at least he was wholly endearing. With this guy, there's no room for any kind of sentiment. He's inhumanly cold, and I get the feeling he's been like this for ages. You're getting on my nerves, little lady, and I'm far from being the only one. I get the sense he meant for all this to be threatening. Instead, I'm elated. After a week of running around like a headless chicken, unsure if I was getting anywhere, finally I get a compliment. If there's one thing I learned back in Lodestar, it was that you only know you're doing your job correctly when someone powerful gets visibly mad. I have no idea what you mean. No need to play dumb, especially considering you're a natural. The arthole, double spiral, the SI, talks den. How does it feel to have made enemies absolutely everywhere? He scoffs at me with pure contempt. Listen, I will speak as plainly as humanly possible to get this through your little head. Since it's obvious, we're not willing to read the obvious signal. You're not, sorry. You were hired for one thing, and one thing only, little lady, to suck at your job. and you couldn't even do that correctly. People keep stopping by my limo this week, telling me, Keza, dear Keza, we keep trying to make her understand how hopeless she is, but she just won't get a clue. She doesn't have any evidence. She doesn't have any testimony. But she still goes around, knocking on everyone's door, causing disturbances. It's such a fucking headache. Usually, I try to be a jovial host, so I cheer them up. She's not that much of a dunce, I say. She's making mountains out of molehills to make herself seem useful, I say. She's about to stop. But you, in your infinite idiocy, decided to prove me wrong. In the most spectacular fashion, by knocking on my very own door, forcing my hand, threatening me even. Are you autistic or something? Huh? Can't read basic fucking social clues? Stop for 1 second and ask yourself, cui bono? Who even fucking wants you to solve anything, let alone this case? See, this city has a delicate system in place. Usually it's flawless. But ever since you started tinkering with it, it's been having these irritating malfunctions, and it's driving people. Are you done? A weird, disgusting sound, something between a gargle and a bark, escapes his throat. Unbelievable! All I'm hearing is that you're in possession of some information that might help me solve the puzzle I was presented with. If that's the case, I'm going to ask you to share it. I swear, you're absolutely irredeemable. You fucking garbage dump of a woman. How do I get through all the rubbish in your head to drive my point in? Don't you know who I am? Tell the truth, or else I want to see your higher-ups, or you're the one who had Callahan's place wired. A very interesting choice here. What does the Sept think? Chat? Personally, I'm leaning towards tell me the truth or else. But I also very much like I want to see your higher-ups. Not so sure this one goes anywhere. I mean, obviously you must have figured that she found something or she wouldn't have been here. So, I'm thinking about those two. If you really want me to take this one, just let me know. If you have a good reason, I'll go for it. But I'm hesitating between those two. And I'm still trying to get the La Sombra ending. So, I'm thinking this one is more ruthless. But this one is also kind of badass. Like, you're just a pawn. I want to talk to the real movers and shakers behind this. So I'm not sure. I'm really hesitant here. What does the chat think? Okay, Stanil is voting for truth. Okay. Okay. How many are we in chat today? Okay. Okay. Just a few of us. All right. So we're both in favor of that. All right. I'm going to go with that. Your opinion of me is completely irrelevant, Kaiser. I want intel. I want the truth. If you're not going to give it to me, we can take it to my superiors. I think he's kind of saying your superiors are in on it. That's not what I would have said. He bites his lips so strongly. It would certainly bleed if you were still alive. Fine. You want to do it in this way? I have an idea. You want to know who pulls the strings? Give me 10 minutes and I can arrange a meeting. But this is your last chance to turn back. If you don't, I can tell you now, you're going to be sorry. The big kahuna? Finally, now we're talking. Yes, the big kahuna. So this is your final answer, hmm? Absolutely. Unbelievable. He takes out his phone and begins furiously typing. I relax in the seat. Finally, we're getting somewhere. It might be dangerous, yeah, but at least I will finally get a clue of what's going on. I'm just saying, this is the point of no return. My boss doesn't fuck around. Best case, you're going to beg him to take you in. Whatever. He keeps grumbling under his breath, but I'm not even listening. I just watch the streets go by. Until out of the blue, I experience a strong sense of foreboding. I first spot her in the corner of my eye. She's hovering right next to Kaiser with an expression that's impossible to discern. When she speaks, her voice is machine-like, yet otherworldly. Fine. I think they're telling me what Kaiser is here. I don't know who's talking, so I'll just read the lines. Fine, we're 5 minutes away or so. Get the boys ready to give her the Mel Gibson special. The moment he puts away his phone, the silhouette disappears. We are 5 minutes away. Better stop figuring out the ways you might prove yourself useful to the honcho. There is no honcho. Oh my god. Of course this motherfucker is setting me up. I need to get out of here now. I do the first thing that comes to mind. I grab the door handle and pull. He notices me scrambling and struggles to grab me. Hold up, you stupid fucking cunt! Glass breaking, loud thuds of something heavy hitting the asphalt, tires screeching. I think he grabbed me. I think he tried to pull me back in. I think we fell out of the limo. I think his buddy cushioned my fall. But I'm struggling to process what's going on. It's like I'm blanking out. When I come to, he's already attempting to get up, cursing under his breath. The limo has stopped a little further in, but whoever the driver is, he's not coming out. Fucking! When he stands up, he will be out for revenge. For vengeance. He's an older vampire who knows how strong he is. I need something that will give me the advantage. Pepper spray, of course. Probably won't be as effective as it would be on a living person, but it's still worth a try. I limp towards the asshole, disarm the device, aim towards his eyes, and unload the entire canister. Ah! It worked. It actually worked. I keep up the offensive. I punch him, kicking, throw him around, I pummel him, I smash his head against the curb. I struggle to harm him in whatever way I can, like a frightened animal. I don't know how long it lasts. Might be 1 minute, might be eternity. The driver steps out of the limo to help his boss, but once he sees what I'm doing to him, he runs away in a panic. Feels good. Feels absolutely horrible. Once I'm done, I sit on the curb and scream my lungs out to avoid crying. Then I look at him. Quick thing here, this is obviously a cathedral. Just saying. You know, La Sombra, cathedrals. And the fact that our own bosses speak to me through the church. Just saying. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were in the car, there were screens, and one of them was showing the cathedral. So I don't think this is random. Just saying. Well, he's had a rough day, but he's still alive. He seems shocked, barely hanging on. I know what I've done was extremely stupid. I did hear how he's one of the most influential figures in the city, but that's probably why he never expected to get his ass whooped, especially by someone like me. When he speaks again, his voice is pathetic, surprisingly close to a whimper. You'll pay. You'll fucking pay. You lost mislaid and abandoned property of a woman. He's unwell, talking nonsense. I approach him again. You wanted to have me whacked. What? What? Do you think I'm stupid? You needed to be taught a lesson. Well, would you look at who ended up teaching who? Now talk. Tell me everything you know about Callahan's final death. All of it. Go to hell. You can fuck me up however bad you want. I'm still not going to tell you shit. You try anything, there will be consequences. There will be retribution. He's not wrong. We've talked in the past about the traditions. I don't think we've gone through all of them, but one of the big ones is destruction. And destruction means that no one in the city is allowed to kill another vampire. The only person with that power is the prince, essentially. That's why a blood hunt is a big deal. If you remember, there was a story about someone trying to get the prince to call a blood hunt. That's the only time the tradition of destruction is lifted. Essentially, the prince is granting everyone in the city his or her own power to kill, essentially. So it's a bit of a liege and servant type thing. It's essentially the liege. You're doing the killing on behalf of the prince, so you are allowed to do it, essentially. It's as if the prince was doing the killing. You're doing it, you're just an extension of the prince at that point, which is why you're allowed to kill during a blood hunt. So here, Kaiser is letting Julia know that if she kills him, she's gonna break the tradition of destruction, which means the prince will kill her. If you're wondering why did Kaiser plan to kill Julia and that was fine, the reason is traditions are a thing and then power is another. Kaiser is enough of a big player that he can probably get away with it in multiple ways. Essentially, in Vampire, you can do anything as long as you don't get caught, right? And everyone knows that everyone is doing it. So it's one of the reasons why Vampire is so political and so social. You can huff someone else, but don't get caught, or we're all coming for you. We're all going to pretend everything is fine, but we have to be able to keep the pretense. It's one of the reasons why the game is called a freaking masquerade. It doesn't just refer to the fact that we have to hold a pretense of being human in front of the humans. We also have to hold a pretense of being civilized towards each other. And that's one of those rules. If you can destroy someone and not get caught, fine. No one's going to bat an eye. But don't get caught. Kaiser here controls information in the city. He can easily get away with this. He knows it. Julia, not so much. If she's lucky, maybe Kadir is going to help her out. Odds are, since he's the sheriff and he's very loyal to the Camarilla, he's not going to. We'll see how this plays out. My mouth is shut. He might be my last chance to solve the case, but if I don't force him to talk, he won't. There's a burgeoning thought in my mind, but it scares even me. Do I dare to push him to the edge? Make him suffer until he squeaks? Okay. So, I thought all of my decisions up till now were what was going to determine if I'm ruthless or not, and therefore if I'm getting the La Sombra ending or not. But I think this is a very clear breaking off point. Pretty sure this is the line that gives me the good ending from what I saw. I don't know a lot about it. I've just been told be ruthless and you'll get the good ending. So that's what I'm trying to do. So seriously, I think I'm going to go for it, unless the chat has a really good reason for me not to. And I mean, after Heart of the Forest, we're probably going to get back to this game anyway and try the other ending. So at the end of the day, we'll see both options. few seconds to chat to see if there's a reaction. 5, 4, 3, 2. We're going. Trait updated. The end justifies the means. Duh. Interesting. How do you put that? Well, I'm sure you will open your mouth if I do this. I put his shin against the curb. Wait, what? And kick with all my strength. Ah! It's a compound fracture. I barely managed to suppress my gag reflex. It feels like I'm disassociating. You fucking psycho! You fucking psychotic bitch! He's actually weeping, like a child. It totally shatters the tough image he was trying to project earlier. Like, this is the first time anyone has ever used physical violence against him. What if it is? Either start talking, or the other leg goes. Then the hands. Then I'll get creative. I tried to collect myself and put his other leg against the curb. I'll talk! I'll fucking talk! The kick connects. It's a light one. A sadistic feint. It still manages to get a pathetic whimper out of him. Then talk. This had better be good. He looks at me with pure fury and begins to speak through clenched teeth. You wanna know who was in Callahan's office before he died, little lady? Everyone. Fucking everyone and their mother was there. Van der Weyden, Heisling, Arturo, and Panhard, that Khmer douche motherfucker, Torque and his sidekick, all of them. Callahan thought that the only way out was to pit them all against each other or to ally with every single one of them. Little did he know, it was all in their best interests for him to just fucking die. That's good. That's great. But who killed him? I have no fucking idea. That won't do. Once again, I put his leg in a potentially disastrous position. In response, he starts howling maniacally. You fucking sadist! You fucking monster woman! I really have no idea. You kept complaining. Who kept complaining to you about me? Who is responsible for getting rid of the evidence? Everyone! Everyone did. Goddamn Callahan had dirt on everyone and antagonized everyone. So it took everyone to fucking bring him down. All evidence is gone. Every theory is equally true. So none of it is. Don't you see, you fucking cunt? Everyone is complicit. So nobody is. Why the fuck do you think Sophie Langley is no longer around? Why is Torque no longer pretending to be a revolutionary? Why are free agents involved? Why are they shutting up? What are they... Why, let me start over. Why are they shutting you up tomorrow? Shutting me up? Who? Can't you connect the dots, you fucking whore? What are you, a fucking retard? Somebody's about to get... Julia! I look back over my shoulder and see Kadir. Bloody hell, what is wrong with you? Kadir, you're out of control. This is why I didn't want you to get involved. I had a hunch. A hunch that the moment you get a whiff of true power, all brakes will be off. Look, you're talking nonsense. You're out of your goddamn mind. I should have you in for a potential masquerade breach. Just let me explain myself. This ugly motherfucker tried to have me beaten, maybe even killed. Don't you care about that? I have no idea, Sheriff. No idea. She's dangerous, psychotic. Shut the fuck up. I can't control myself. I kick him where I know it will hurt him the most. Ah, my fucking leg! Stop this right now, you goddamn idiot! I freeze in place. I've never heard him use that tone with me. I will take care of you in a moment. In my car, Kaiser. Hold on. I'm not done questioning him yet. It looks like there's a major conspiracy to... I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, and you're gonna be glad I leave it at that. If you do that, I'm gonna have to assume you're complicit. That's worth 2 strikes in my book. You don't want to risk a third. So that's that. Tell me, what was all my footwork even for? We'll be seeing each other, little lady. Can you hear this? Go home, Julia. But go home. Fine, I will. But before I do, I take a quick peek into Kaiser's limo, still abandoned a little further down the street. I skip the church visit again tonight. I want more time to finish this report. Who knows? It might be my final one. I want to spend more time with Dakota. Yeah, just to forget about the rest of the world. A lot happened tonight, but I can still manage to be at our apartment an hour earlier than usual. She should be glad. I have a bad feeling about this. I sneak into the apartment as silently as possible, trying to surprise her. When I reach the bedroom, I see something unexpected. It hits me like a ton of bricks. At the beginning, I can't properly parse the sight. But when I finally understand what I'm looking at, it causes a wave of terror and disgust to swell up inside my chest. What the fuck? She's shocked to see me, doesn't know what to do. She's like a deer in headlights, or a schoolgirl poorly trying to hide her misdeeds from a teacher. You're Hurley. Yes, I am. These are my clothes, Dakota. These are my cigarettes. That's my jewelry on the table. Yeah, I was, and I'm pretty sure, God Almighty, I thought I was just being neurotic whenever I noticed something dreadfully familiar in you. I can explain. Please do explain. A good 10 seconds of awkward silence pass. I can see her spending an eternity in her head. This isn't what it looks like. Oh my god. It is exactly what it looks like. I will just come out and say it. Dakota, are you single white femaling me? I think she means leave her. It all makes sense now. No, come on, no. I thought I was the leech in this relationship. We watched that movie together. We made fun of Jennifer Jason Leigh together. A roommate stalking and imitating her own roommate. Ha ha ha. What a concept, right? But I was being fed on in a far more sinister way without knowing it. Don't be silly. Silly. I've never even been this serious with you. So whenever she put on my makeup, whenever I used her as a mirror, was she always hyping me up because she wanted to live vicariously through me? So many little things make sense in retrospect. The little ways you kept modulating your speech after me. The weird ways our tastes were always compatible. Some of your art feeling so familiar. None of it would trigger any alarms by itself, and yet she's as humanly embarrassed as possible. Julia, listen. Don't fucking touch me. I can barely think of anything more repulsive than being put on a pedestal like this. It's like the one other person is begging me to perceive them as someone worse, if not outright subhuman. Don't be like this. Just don't. You know this would probably be infinitely more palatable if you talked to me like a person, here, and not like, I don't know, your fucking mommy. You know what? Fuck you. I've been locked in this apartment by myself because of all the pandemic shit going on. It's fucking me up. I know you have it hard right now, so I didn't want to bother you. Yeah, I was counting on you to ask about how I'm feeling. Babe, how is your work-life balance? Aren't you feeling claustrophobic? Hey, is it just me, or is our drug supply weirdly shrinking too fast? But no, you are too much of a self-centered bitch. You regularly suck me dry, and it's okay. But the moment I entertain the thought of taking something in return, I'm crossing a line. Oh no, I'm a member of an immoral elite secret society. It's so hard to cope. Dakota, whenever I gracefully decide to visit our apartment, let's just do what I enjoy until the pain stops. Fuck you! Fuck you! Sincerely, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. There's nothing you can do but take. You should have learned by now that just taking won't make you happy, you big dumb bitch. Okay, I was not expecting this. Stop. Just... I don't know what to say. I feel disgusted, both with her and myself. Just stop. Dakota breaks down crying. She grabs a jacket and a purse, then runs out of the apartment. I don't try to stop her. I stand there for a short while in silence and then lock the door. Did she take her keys? I don't know. I don't know if I care. I desire it for someone else, not for myself. For a way to open a different world, not get locked back in mine. I collapse onto the soft bed. I smell her perfume. I always liked it, but now it makes me slightly nauseous. I try not to think of Dakota. I think of Kaiser. I think of Kadir. I think of Callahan. No matter what I think of, I sense doom. I feel that I've just sealed my fate, whatever it may be. Everything fucking sucks. Achievement: Scream Bloody Murder. Back into the void. Back into the void. Back into the void. Okay. We are resting. Looks like that night is over. I'm pretty sure we're starting the last night. For me, it always starts with an image. An image which might be vaguely eerie or interesting, but usually not an image that would provoke partially strong feelings by itself. Usually it hides a mystery. That much is correct. But that mystery doesn't exist without a text, or more specifically, a context. Context is everything. One way or another, you need to process what you're looking at. Maybe that context will be something you've heard or overheard. I don't know if you're noticing, but the music right now is a riff on the theme song, or at least the song that plays on the main menu. Maybe, although it's quite rare and pretty special, it will be your very own creative, captivating, complete interpretation. A ghost of an idea. Is this a half-forgotten memory, or something unspeakably beautiful I will never, ever see again? Just a scene from a movie, a fragment of a music video, an animation? Or maybe this really is the last thing Callahan ever saw in his own life? Warm sunbeams caressing his skin and turning it to ash. A giant ball of fire engulfing his body in flame from 93 million miles away. Was he terrified? Was he grateful? There's no will, no suicide, no nothing. Instead, we can only count on what the local historians will write, presumably letting their biases shape the narrative one way or another. What am I looking at here? A horrible, laughable hall of mirrors. A creep whom I never, ever want to see again. A vampire much more despicable than myself. Or maybe someone who loved taking care of me and deserved to be taken care for in return. Funny thing, whenever I was high as a kite, mentally lost in dimensions parallel to ours, she was my anchor, our shared history. My feelings for her were an anchor. Matthew McConaughey, returning to his strange daughter from the other side of the cosmos, from beyond the event horizon, guided by nothing but love. Then whenever I got back to planet Earth for a week or two, I was haunted by a memory of that affection. I was the best possible version of myself toward her. but that haunting always refused to transfigure into something real. What gradually took its place were angry, disappointed thoughts, and among them one thought that I was always trying to suppress. I need someone who'd know how to raise me up spiritually, but all I have is a sycophant who's always working her ass off to lift me up without understanding what I need. It's hurting us both. Having these words pop up in my head hurt me, because they have a ring of truth to them, but also because I knew there must be another narrative, a better narrative. I was just too stupid to find it. Story of my life, story of my unlife. I still have no idea what I think about this city. I had the best city in the world phase. I had just a playground for wealthy fucktards phase. Now I'm in search of a better description. One day probably I will stumble upon like a piece of writing or a prestigious TV show scene that will contain just that. And surprisingly, I will look at this palace with new eyes. I will look at this place with new eyes. Or maybe I won't. It's like the frustrations I had back at Lodestar. All these words constantly trailing behind reality, trapping you in useless mindsets instead of bringing enlightenment. Fuck all those flashy writers whose main concern is furthering their own brand. Douchebags who present you with limited, pathetic, depressing realities where they are kings. Fuck them all to hell. We need words that will paint a brighter future before our eyes. But what if that can't be done without reinterpreting the past first? What if we haven't even defined the ills and threats correctly? Once again, my thoughts return to the same visual that has been tormenting me for almost every waking moment of this past week. A senseless demise devoid of any context. A crime scene stripped of evidence. An image created by an unknown artist, designed to leave you dumbfounded. The investigation is over. All the possible avenues explored. All the non-testimonies are in. No concrete evidence found. The play is almost complete. The actors ready to leave the stage. It is what it is. I failed as a detective. Maybe through no fault of my own, but again, it is what it is. This case, this scene, this picture never needed an investigator. From what I understand, all the people in charge ever wanted was a talented writer. What if a ghost of an idea? When I wake up, Dakota is still not here. I don't know how to feel about that, so I just don't. Kadir hasn't left any messages by the door. Still that mad, huh? He will probably appeal to the court to take me off the case, and if half of the garbage Kaiser was spouting is correct, he shouldn't have much trouble convincing everyone. I look in the mirror and stare at my warped non-reflection. This place is upsetting. You need a change of scenery, girl. The depressing streets of a lockdown New York City will do. I think of God. Maybe that's why I half-consciously picked the cathedral as my destination. I think of this silver cross adorning my chest, an empty signifier. Whenever someone asks me why I wear it, they hear a different story. I think of these silhouettes that I keep spotting from the corner of my eye. No, I don't even want to imagine what that means. I feel what it means and it makes me nauseous enough. I think of my clan so closely tied to the Catholic Church. It's a loveless marriage, so to speak. Like, for example, the one between my parents. I think about the great irony of the Sombra's truce with the Holy See. We're the only ones who stay close to the Lord's light, even though we're certain we will never ever reach it. Some of us shadows have visions of comrades who departed the world recently, traveling through some abstract space, one that's disturbing and astonishing in equal measures. They almost reach whatever afterlife there is for our kind, but then get caught and consumed by a dark, monstrous silhouette. The rumor is our antediluvian wasn't stopped by his final death. He's still out there, behind the shadows, taking revenge for our patricide, feeding on us like Saturn devouring his children. Quick reminder, antediluvian are the third generation, so Cain, second generation, third generation, the antediluvians. They are the progenitors of the clans. As Dakota would say, it might not be factual, but it is an emotional truth. From joining the Camarilla to panically scrambling for any safe house, it's like our elders are solely motivated by fear. The sins of our fathers are catching up with them, and it's young kindred like me who are given responsibility to clean up their mess, with the constant sense of doom looming over the horizon. We don't talk about salvation anymore. We're just minimizing the impact of damnation. That's no way to live. Then again, maybe that's why they call it on life. Shit. It's Benoit. Hello there, lost sheep. I'll have you know this shepherd was extraordinarily patient in waiting for you. What are you doing here while the night is so young? Out for blood? Well, you're in luck. This place offers both the body and blood. If missionaries learned their methods from pickup artists, they would all be like this guy. I'm not in the mood, you sorry-ass bum. Step the fuck away from me or you're gonna be sorry. Oh my, something troubling you? If so, I can arrange a confession. Or if you're in a hurry, keep in mind, the path from inner turmoils begins with a friendly ear, and you've got one right here. Kurwa Jibanatoa. You want me to fuck you up, don't you? Don't you? Julia, as you should know by now, I always interpret this kind of response to preaching the divine as the devil stirring inside. Is that what it is, Julia? The liar and the father of lies got a hold on your soul? If so, give me a signal, even the smallest one, and I'll do my best to spot it. Something swells up inside my chest. I recognize the feeling. The handbrake just broke, and I'm definitely not on level ground. Fuck, here we go. Listen, I've had enough, alright? Enough! Enough of your sanctimonious attitude. Enough of your brazen lack of basic empathy. Enough of your dumb, ugly fucking mug. You're a fucking singularity of stupidity, tastelessness, and cringe. I've met all sorts of horrible shitheads and asshats this week, and somehow none of them got under my skin the way you do, you motherfucker. Like a goddamn Jehovah's Witness, going from door to door, except you're always knocking on my fucking skull, going, hey, do you know God exists? Have you heard that God exists? Like, hold on right there. When did I ever say that God exists? That's a weird thing for a believer to say. What? I said, what makes you think I believe God exists? Oh, now you're just fucking with me. No, I'm serious. Well, he sounds serious, at least. I'm actually speechless. I think there's been some sort of silly misunderstanding that desperately needs to be cleared up. I'm all ears. Sure hope so, Julia. I feel like you must have ignored half of what I've been saying for you to reach these conclusions. That's very well possible, actually. It usually takes 15 seconds of him talking to get me completely zoned out. So to avoid any further mix-ups, I will go back to the beginning and explain the core of my religious beliefs, okay? So, I love the Catholic imagery, I cherish the tradition and lore, I adore the practices, the intricacies of the theology, the messages contained in the Bible. Of course I do. Does that mean I believe that one day I will see the big dad in the sky? Forgive me, Lord, but I don't think so. Doesn't sound very likely, especially for a bloodthirsty creature of the night. So, that's what this is about? Fun imagery? That's overly simplified, but yes, I suppose you could say that. Motherfucker, you ain't Catholic. You're just a weirdo cosplayer. Says a non-practitioner who still wears a cross. Yeah, but I don't shove it down people's throat for fun in my spare time. I'm simply trying to share the joys religion has brought to my own life with others. What joys? Oh, where to start when there's so many? The joy of having plainly understandable rules to follow. The joy of having a structure to your life. The joy of always knowing where to find people who share your values. Above all, it's the joys of being an aristocracy, surrounding oneself with exquisite, luxurious architecture, beautiful classical music, ornate rituals, formalizing our actions and relationships. A pursuit of virtue separating you from the masses, the hierarchies, the communities, all serving an idea greater than themselves. It's like monarchy or some Camarilla traditions, but not as gauche. That's what it was. You saw pretty paintings and buildings and thought, hell yeah, I want in. And then you just decided what they mean to you. Oh, don't get me wrong. It's real faith that brought me to the fold, but eventually I whittled down this religion to its core, to what interests me. Unbelievable. But don't think for a second I wasn't empathetic when I was trying to convert you. You are the embodiment of existential despair surrounding us. The one that people usually try to drown out with drugs, sex, work, Netflix. Pick your poison. All of them temporary copes. Empty yourself. Kill your ego. Get a routine. Join a community. Ground your morality in something tangible. Start perceiving yourself as a part of something greater. All of it good advice by itself, but codified in an appealing, otherworldly aesthetic. One that keeps the beast at bay. One you're almost fitting into the way you are. What's there to hate? Looks like they are referring to, very surprisingly, a road. The beast. A bottomless pit of savagery and hunger, always under the surface, begging me to lose control. All vampires have it, some worse than other. And it comes in many flavors. I don't know what would happen if I gave in to this urge, but somehow I doubt I'd like it. So, in the past, there were paths. The basic path was the path of humanity. So the more humane you were, the more you were able to keep your beast in check. And the more inhumane you were, the more your beast was in control, essentially. There were other paths that you were able to take, other philosophies that characters were able to espouse that were just as good to keep the beast at bay. In V5, if I recall correctly, that's why I said surprising, I think they've done away with all of that. But I'm slowly remembering, and I think it makes sense what they're doing here. Instead of having a path, essentially a path was 10 layers, ratings from 1 to 10 of sins that if you did that particular sin, you would go down on your path. And if you went to 3 or lower, you would lose your character, if memory serves. No, if it got to 0, you would lose your character because it was just the monster at that point, just the beast in control all the time. And 3 and below, you were just monstrous, but not yet a monster. And that manifested in physical ways as well. You wouldn't necessarily grow a tail or anything, but you would be paler. You would look more like the corpse that you were, and the higher in the path of humanity that you were, the more alive you were able to look, essentially. But that was all in the character's head, essentially, or at least controlled by their mindset, controlled by their morality. So there were other things than humanity that could be your anchor, and those were called paths. You had some really fucked up stuff in there, and some of them that were more just old school, essentially. You had the path of chivalry, for example, that a lot of intro liked. That was all about being the liege and all about being responsible for those under you, for example. And then you have the path of metamorphosis, which was all about embracing that you're a monster, being kind of in peace with it. The Zimitsi clan were very fond of that one. So again, in V5, The what they're doing now, I believe, is you are essentially building your own path, sort of. I don't think there is any levels anymore, but you have some touch points, some touchstones. I mean, that you have to determine for yourself. Things that you wouldn't do, and if you did, then it's bad in a different way. I don't really remember exactly what those are, but you have to determine essentially a couple of things that morally your character would be breaching a certain point if they went against that. So I'm thinking essentially here, Benoit is kind of describing his version of that, his moral code, his way of being that helps him keep the beast away. The beast in check, sorry. Unbelievable. You goddamn lunatic. He looks to the sky. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Stop that. Your entire ideology is just aesthetics. You fucking loon. And I know and how exactly do I differ from anyone else nowadays in this regard? Stop arguing semantics. No, you stop. Just look at yourself. A privileged burnout who refuses to invest herself in anything. Only started committing to anything when, for once in your own life, you were forced into a politically charged, dangerous task. Once it's over, you'll be back to being an aimless brat. The desire to murder increases. Ever since World War II, I've been watching every person and every idea I care about wither and disappear. That's the source of my pain. That's the reason I am what I am. The source of your pain, a thing that defines you. People have been mean to you. Fuck off. People in third world countries keep their heads high while suffering from every sort of horror, but you have a complete mental breakdown every time you remember you have mummy issues. Wow. Classy. Oh, don't act like you have the high moral ground here, you oblivious sadist. All I'm saying is everyone has a different framework, a different lens of view they're suffering through. A different lens to view their suffering through. Yes. And if there's one thing abandoning your humanity should have shown you, is that kind frameworks are not enough. Kind is the word for humans. Petty vendettas, childish romances, pointless power struggles, the dumb gamble that's chasing a successful career. Mommy and daddy issues? Sure, why not? Pain and pleasure dictate everything. Everyone wants something bigger than this. They want to escape from this drudgery. They want psychedelia, but permanent. They want to stare at God's face even if he does not exist. And you can show them how. Accept the cross you're wearing to your heart, Julia. Accept it. Creepy fucker. Just accept it. Alright, that will be enough, Benoit. The mood changes in an instant. The sight of Father Leonard takes us both aback. Father, what are you doing here so early? You two are arguing so loudly I had to come out and check. Even if, with all the panic on TV these days, simply walking outside feels like marching into a war zone. Yeah, I'm sorry. Should be. I was willing to turn a blind eye to your quirks because I believe you have your heart in the right place, mostly. But I'm very disappointed in the way you approach folks in need. Right now, Benoit Seagull is displaying all the confidence of a scolded teacher's favorite. But I was just trying to guide her, to set her on the right path. I know, Benoit. I know, that's the problem. The sacristy is open. Please head there right now. We need to have a long talk. Get me some coffee if you wish. But, Benoit, he slowly slinks away, looking defeated, deflated, debased. I burn the moment into my retinas. Etch it on my soul, kind of hoping I'll never have to see him again, and this is how I'll remember him. Father Leonard watches him closely until he disappears from sight, then turns to me. I feel sorry for him. I keep hoping he might find some basic empathy through faith, but all I've done thus far is let him leave you at the end of your tether. Yeah, some faith he has. Are you okay with all the bullshit he's spouting? I don't exactly support it, but I don't reject it. It's like attrition and contrition, imperfect and perfect repentance, you know? One is focused on a relationship with God, the other is selfish and focused on personal gain. Both of them work. Yeah, but doesn't strike you as completely missing the point? A bit. purely secular takes on Christ's teaching are nothing new. Pascal Wager is a boring example, but have you perchance read Bul- Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita? Sure, back in Poland, every teen trying to look intellectual online loved to repeat that joke about the talking cat who swears he'd never pour vodka for a lady because women deserve pure alcohol. That's one takeaway from that novel, I suppose. I read it as a moving depiction of Christ, who's not a divine being, stripped of mythic qualities, but open for transcendence. Jesus and Satan understood as powerful forces battling within us. I would have to read it again. It's been too long. Sounds nice, though. I stretch lazily and take out another smoke. Leonard watches me closely before speaking up again. Julia. 4 hours from now, there's going to be a meeting in the Elysium. The big finale of Celebrations of Power. Everyone will be there, but they were counting on you to not show up. The sheriff plans to present the results of the investigation in your stead. It's a simple, crude strategy. Might work, but begs to be countered with an outrageous tactic. Take it as you will. The game is about to end. Momentarily, I'm left dumbfounded. All I can muster is an eloquent, Oh, don't ask me, I'm just a messenger. Who relayed this message to you, then? A good friend. A cautious friend. Wouldn't be able to tell you more than that, even if you forced me to. Well, shit. This is the moment that might decide the rest of my days. What would you do in my place, Father? When I was faced with a dilemma that would shape the rest of my life, the world felt too big and scary and impossible to understand, so I simply escaped from that choice into the seminary. Yeah, if that's your idea of good advice, I'm gonna have to ask you to shove it. I would expect nothing less. Don't you regret it? Regret what? Kind of shady, but don't seem like a bad guy. Still, you have to accept the people above you are responsible for some horrible things. If our superiors' acts count as our own sins, then on the face of it, probably half the people in this world are irredeemable. Clever, but not a real answer. Being a low-level grunt for hassles you find wholly objectionable is no way to live. I don't know. Is it? I finish the smoke in silence. I have to go. Don't know if and when we'll see each other again, but when that happens, I probably won't be the same old me. Of course. But before I leave this cold Benoit, let me say one more thing. Yeah? These are difficult times. My parishioners keep calling me. The things people are going through, they might never admit. But if this keeps up, it will cause horrifying invisible damage to this nation. A dreadful darkness is killing us all, little by little. And like every powerful evil, it manifests itself little by little. And yet, sinful as it may be, I confess to being strangely excited. For a moment, we're seeing this suffocating normal disappear. This is the time to dream a new world is possible. Walk these empty streets, Julia. Remember how the city feels right now. Bask in its shadows and uncertainties. After the apocalypse comes the great rebirth. After the apocalypse comes the great rebirth. The Amici Noctis awaits your next report with great curiosity. I give him a nod and I sprint away. Now I know what I must do. Hey Moon, my lone constant companion. When I moved here for good from, the old country, you were the only close friend who kept me company. Never felt in the right place back there. Never felt in the right place here. Especially now, when I'm not quite alive. Not quite dead. Not that Slavic. Not that American. Maybe it's about time I finally carve out some space for myself. It's been a long road, hasn't it? Wish me luck. I catch him in front of the art hole, because of course he had to be the first person I met there. Kadir. No way. No, 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 no. I'm going to take a quick break again, just a quick bio break before we deal with this, which is probably going to be the end of the game. We're almost done, so please bear with me, but I do need a quick bio break, so I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about this. Let's do this. I'm gonna be the laughingstock of the entire city if I don't show up to the resolution of my own investigation. How about you demonstrate a medicum of courtesy? Courtesy? Girl, I should put you on trial. I can't guarantee I eventually won't. You've messed up. You've messed with Kaiser, the eminence grise of this city. Beaten him to a pulp like a random goon. He will do everything he can to destroy you from now on, and my bet is he'll succeed. Whatever will be, will be. For now, at the very least, I'd like to show the court I'm not a baby fledgling who can't see a task she was given to the end. You're making a huge mistake. How did you even learn this meeting is happening in the first place? Maybe I'm not as trash an investigator as you thought I was. Never said, but you're showing it. That's not a fair assessment. I wanted to finish this whole mess myself, for your own good. It would be nice if you asked what I think next time. I'm actually pissed off you tried to pull this off without me, but I'm not letting it show. Counting on being able to guilt trip him into submission. His deep sigh of resignation proved that my tactic was successful. Fine, but you will stay quiet the whole time. No tricks, ifs, or buts. But of course, this way. We step into the maw of the gallery. The celebrations of power are almost over. Everyone is back to their usual respective styles again, looking weary of each other's company, trapped in their own little worlds. The art hall is nearly empty now, and Kadir is gently strong-arming the last remaining nobodies into leaving the premises. Eventually, only me and a select few New York Camarilla VIPs remain. Ah, Miss Savinsky. What voice did I give him before? Right, he's overly happy. Ah, Miss Savinsky. Barely made it, huh? The asshole with a glued-on smile spots me first, and he's just as authentically enthused to see me as ever, so he finally showed his face around here. I wasn't sure if you'd join us tonight. Kadir made this meeting sound like a one-man show. The preparations took me a bit longer than I thought they would. I apologize. Are you, by chance, planning to surprise us with something? Well, if I was planning something, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you now, would it? Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're about to begin. Everyone remaining in the building gathers around Kadir. Ah, exciting. Is everyone present? Present? And accounted for. My prince? Yes. Before we begin, let me welcome an unusual guest to our fold. She gestures towards a corner, from behind which emerges a silhouette that would have never, ever appeared here under normal circumstances. Holy crap! Okay. Name's Talk, the Baron of the Bronx. I was delegated here by my compatriots as an oversight authority. I'm here to observe the results of the investigation, nothing more, nothing less. Let me stress this one last time. This is a one-time occurrence meant to alleviate the tensions in this city, not a symbol of mutual recognition, not in the slightest. I peek at Addison's face to get a feel for how a hardline loyalist might grapple with this arrangement. His expression betrays no surprise, only a slight discomfort. If even he is fine with it, the prince must have been extremely convincing about the necessity of a temporary truce, or about some Machiavellian tactics she's got ready up her sleeve. Who knows? Of course, I might have irreconcilable differences, but there are times they have to be temporarily put aside in order to quell unrest and open paths for constructive, meaningful change. If anyone would like to voice their concerns, The time is now. Torque, Arturo, and Panhard exchange glances. Normally, I'd consider it an innocent gesture. Knowing what I know, I roll my eyes. A stick or a carrot, Torque? What made you break and sell your compatriots? How much do you really know? If not, Kadir? May I? He steps into the middle of the room and clears his throat theatrically. First, let me plainly state that the conclusion I'm going to present is by no means my own achievement. It is the result of a tireless investigation conducted by a talented kindred I won't name here. A telling glance in Torque's direction serves as a succinct explanation for why he refuses to call them by their names. And of course, Julia Sawinski, whose ceaseless groundwork over the past few nights served as a foundation for the findings that are about to be revealed here. Thank you, Julia. It's not the first time he sets out to oversell my achievements. As the sheriff, my role here is mostly representative. I spent the last few days overseeing the celebrations in Elysium, making sure no harm would befall anyone present. Luckily, none did. Looks like the prince's decision to move forward with the event was the correct one. And for that we should extend our thanks to Kadir, and let us not overlook our guest to a degree. I managed to convince my key allies that diplomatic action is the only way forward in this case. No matter how wrong-headed the enemy can be, we still need avenues to negotiate and communicate. I'm curious how Temika would react to him looking like a corporate bastard designing the future order, dismissing potential for change that lies in unrest. No wonder she dumped him. Spare us the empty pleasantry and let Kadir move on. I don't have all night for this. Right. I'll be concise. Douglas Boss Callahan's remains were found in his office by one of his ghouls, first thing in the evening. The first kindred to confirm it was another anarch baron, Torque, present here. A mystery book author would refer to the circumstances of Callahan's death as a classic closed-room mystery. The metal door, locked from the inside, served as the sole way in. There was no murder weapon, no useful testimonies, and the evidence was, how do I put it, barely circumstantial at best. Nice picture. What was left for us was one hell of a puzzle, one where the answer couldn't even be approached using the tried and tested question, cui bono? We were presented with a poorly timed power upheaval, a tense situation where a long-planned celebration was in danger. Suddenly, all of us were faced with an uncertain future. Everybody benefited, yet nobody did. No one was especially fond of Callahan, and it's not like anyone seemed particularly keen on removing him from the equation, especially at this time. For a moment, we were sure this was the beginning of an offensive on the part of the Camarilla. Oh, that's Torque now, sorry. For a moment, we were sure this was the beginning of an offensive on the part of the Camarilla. We started wondering just how violent our retaliation should be. And as for us, we were momentarily convinced that the Anarchs were plotting to blame us for their own internal power struggles. A tense situation resolved only thanks to skillful and swift diplomacy. Dare I say, yet another victory for our talented prince. Julia made sure to examine all the contacts Callahan might have had in its last days, in both sects. Her efforts were tireless, and only rarely misguided. He just had to spit out at least one biting remark, didn't he? Yeah, well, he's probably just covering his ass. But as exhaustive as they might have been, they only served to muddle the possibilities, not explain them. Callahan had a lot of enemies, but they were the most infuriating kind of enemies one can have. Folks who barely ever thought of him anymore. In other words, no one really had a particular interest in getting rid of him, because they could always simply work their way around him. Just before last Christmas, he even witnessed the first ever successful First Light raid against his extremely profitable blood trade supply lines. The lone ace up his sleeve, a downright shady ability to perfectly maneuver around all SI activities, gone. Callahan's decline was apparent to all, and a domino effect made his empire slowly crumble. Up until recently, he'd done an admirable job keeping up with the times and getting away with murder, but suddenly, all of the prison spotlights were on him. The recent stories we hear about him all depict a depressed, downright manic recluse lashing out at everyone, struggling and utterly failing to fit into the new reality he found himself in. A closed door, no evidence of struggle, a lack of strong whodunit, the corpse being found in the very early evening hours. The conclusion is simple. Callahan's final death was self-inflicted. Suicide, to put it in simple terms. Huh. Silence has filled the room. So, wow. That really is the angle they'll be pushing, isn't it? Let's hear it, Sheriff. I will explain. It was an independent detective who first set me onto this theory only last night. There is no suicide note of any kind, of course, but the message our recently departed has sent might not have necessarily been a verbal one. The peculiar thing was the position of the body. It was like an arrow pointing at us to notice something. It appears the last thing Callahan saw in his own life was a portrait of one Lord Castlereagh, the second Marquess of Londonderry, which is coincidentally where Callahan was born. To most, he was a reviled traitor, a heartless suppressor of all dissent, the main threat against each rebellion the Irish have gone through, successful in all ways but those that mattered to his people. Some call him a tragic figure, holding together selfish allies against a common threat, always fighting for painful and unpopular compromises, ruined by overwork, sickness, and poor public speaking skills. Not hard to see why Douglas Callahan would empathize. Polite snickers. Indeed. Especially when you realize that the sickness in his blood, his failures, the hatred from his own people, and a growing paranoia led him to commit a dramatic suicide within his own four walls. Ah, I see. The assumption is, instead of stabbing himself to death with a knife or a pen, he decided to let the sun embrace him in its warmth. Castlereagh's face burning into his eyes, a poetic final death. It's not a closure we might have wanted, but probably the best explanation of his motivation that we're going to get. Does everyone follow? A heavy silence fills the room. Nobody speaks up except Prince Panhard. To me, it's all perfectly understandable, agreeable, and most importantly, it fits the man I've come to understand over the last 2 decades. Consentient murmurs resonate throughout the room. Agreed. And might I add, there were some irregularities in the handling of the crime scene, but the Anarch leader's findings suggested Callahan's resentful ghouls were to blame. Folks have been real happy to see him dead, is all I'm saying. And they went overboard with the celebration. They've all been interrogated, though. Yes, I have received all the resulting intel, and it's done nothing to change my mind. Their depictions of Callahan's state of mind only serve to support the suicide theory. It is my suggestion that we all announce these findings to our respective communities first thing tomorrow night. Sounds reasonable, and I think that concludes this meeting. I'll let the Keeper of the Elysium do the honors. No time wasted, huh? Alright. Does anyone have anything to add? There's a ghost there. Does anyone have anything to add? Any questions to ask? Take your time. Silence. I look at everyone just sitting it out in perfect agreement. Congrats, everyone. Congrats, us. We've achieved a perfect victory. No loose ends. No rocking the boat. No nothing. Makes you want to puke. How many of them contributed to this final report? How strongly does Kadir believe the shit running from his mouth? He's always been a Camarilla loyalist. A fanatic even, but... Miss Julia, any final statements? This is it. Now or never. If anyone can blow this pathetic charade wide open, it's me. But there's no coming back from this road, and it has a cost. I spent all my life and unlife on social climbing, and the sunken cost fallacy is kicking in. Challenging them here might be my only way of ever making out of the pit I'm in. On the other hand, maybe this is my time to head into the unknown. Kill my ego, at least temporarily. Shut up the voice of the elders screaming in my head. Betray my La Sombra instincts. Make all these ghosts go away and figure out something new, no matter how scary it might be. Do I dare? Or maybe I don't. I feel like there's an incredible prize to be won, waiting right in front of me, if I just dare to take out this revolver with its single bullet I have hidden on me. And invite everyone here for a crazy game of Russian roulette. But I also get this foreboding gangster movie feeling, like this is the scene where the future mobster could have gotten out, but he didn't. In the end, did Callahan think all of the splendor of the golden era was worth this pathetic end? It's like there are two cells battling for dominance inside of me. One of them has to die, the other gets to live. Honestly, it's a flip of the coin. I reflect on all the kindred I've met, lessons I've learned, choices I've made over these past few nights to make a decision. And then, feeling like I'm simply following the way I conducted this investigation to its logical conclusion, I respond. No, nothing. Kadir has done an excellent job of summing up the entire case. A barely detectable tension in the air disappears. This was the first time they might have had to reckon with something I said, but lucky for them, turns out they don't. Well, looks like that's all, folks. Yes, looks like it. Excellent. Might I be going now, then? Places to be, kindred to see. Took the words right out of my mouth. You can see it in some of their faces. Everyone is happy. Samira, will you escort Mr. Torque out? Me and Thomas will have to appease Mr. Payne for disrupting the sanctity of the Elysium. Certainly. Right this way. Tomorrow night. We're back to being enemies, of course. Of course. Isn't that just what you wanted to hear, Edison? Oh, spare me the condescension, Elaine. During the commotion, I'm approached by Kadir. He looks me in the eye and makes a show of exhaling deeply. I have to go and see everyone back to safety now, but thank you for not pulling any stupid tricks. I really appreciate it. Who do you think I am? Someone else, and I apologize for that. Sometimes you just see something and completely misinterpret it. We'll think about how to handle the future, particularly the Kaiser issue, tomorrow, alright? If I'm even here tomorrow. He pats me in the back with a short, awkward smile. See you then. Everyone slowly scatters, but I just sit there, keeping an eye contact on your shape here. With the only person here I still have some unfinished business with. The art hole should have its doors closed now, but nobody considers it weird that I'm staying. After all, the only person that is still accompanying me is the Keeper of the Elysium. Aren't they a happy bunch? All's well that ends well. People were getting nervous, like you really had some good cards to play. You're a poker player? Occasionally. It's a very socialite thing to do. Played with Jennifer Tilly once. Must be easy to keep a poker face with, you know? Oh, I know. It does help. And you do seem to know a lot about the cards other people are holding. Like all great games, poker does share some principles, lessons, and necessary skill sets with real life. Take out another smoke. This conversation is bringing the tension back, like two fencers, carefully looking for a hole in each other's defense. I found a file about you in Kaiser's car. Seems like he's worried about you, the only unpredictable variable in his equation. Ah, see, that's the one card I didn't predict you drawing. Speaking of not predicting something, when I was waking up tonight, I didn't expect a good friend would provoke me into coming here. Who might that have been? Not a lot of people in this room had an inclination to act friendly towards me in any way whatsoever. Sure looks like someone made a risky play. Even great players make dangerous plays sometimes. You know why? No idea. Boredom. It's boredom that gets to you. Even when you love the game, there's always this fear that it might turn into a perfectly predictable series of optimal plays. Time to make a play that might not seem optimal at the moment, then. A direct attack. You're not really Catherine Weiss, are you? I don't know who else I could be. Let me phrase it differently then. You're not Ekaterina the Wise, the agitator of Prague, a Bruja elder causing turbulences all over the world, are you? I guess I misread that one. If you remember, I thought she was Ministry, but no, apparently she's a Bruja. We haven't spoken about the Bruja yet. They are the clan of the agitators, actually. That's it. The line is right there and it explains them well. The Bruja are the revolutionaries, the people with a cause in the street, causing revolts and riots and all of that. They're passionate people with a weird history. I'm not gonna get into that because I'm trying to finish the game, but wow, do they have a weird history, including time travel and weird shit. So we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, they're a convoluted clan. Not my favorite, to be honest. I like them. I like what they are supposed to be. I like them as idealists who like to who likes to shake things. But when you get deeper than that in the clan, there's a lot of things that are just weird. But yeah. Right, in terms of powers, they have potency, again, the ability to throw cards. That's their main iconic power. They have presence, because they dabble in politics, so they have to be good at dealing with people. Presence is the power of looking really nice, essentially. It's the power to draw attention to yourself, or also the power to be so majestic that people just won't go against you, essentially. And their other power is celerity, going really, really fast. She laughs. That file must have been pretty thorough. Kaiser knows what he's doing. That's why I'm afraid of what he might do to me to get revenge. Rightfully so. Maybe I'll help him out in exchange for a favor. Snuff out the Sombra meddler. Strike a partnership. Promise to keep each other in check. That was a joke, it wasn't very funny. Just so you know, I've made precautions. It was a bluff. Honestly, I expected more of a reaction. Kaiser's documents, did they mention anything about Ostrava? They say that's where you were born, as Anna Urbanova was unlucky enough to immigrate to New York City at the perfect age, and with a perfect accent approximating that of Ekaterina. Honestly, explains a lot. Kadir told me that Aisling once organized a blood hunt after Ekaterina, that she was both a liability and too intertwined with the city's history to give up on her. This solution, you, were deemed the best possible compromise by all parties involved. The particulars aren't really described. It is theorized that blood magic was used, maybe flesh grafting. I do remember a few images. Her accomplice's embrace, Christoph, the man who caught me, apologizing that the others broke my jaw, as if he wasn't to blame. Violent brainwashing. I think they might be referring to a very old vampire game called Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. The main character there is called Christoph. He's a Bruja. And if I'm not mistaken, one of his coterie members is Katerina. It's been decades. I did not particularly like that game, so it is what it is. That's all I got. It's ringing a bell, but I could be wrong. But what's done is done. I might not be a Katerina the Wise, but I'm definitely Catherine Weiss now. I feel as good about the situation as I probably can. She's the brooding Batman and you're the fun-loving Bruce Wayne. Zorro and Diego de la Vega, something like that. A debutante who sleeps a lot and parties a lot. Only has to do something unpleasant from time to time. Do you hate her? Sometimes. But I mostly pity her. I've come to accept my fate, and I don't even feel much trauma when I see my jaw in the mirror the way she does. Some pig broke hers centuries ago, and she still lives the assault every time she catches a glimpse of her own face. All that power, all that reach, all the appearances, still not enough. Don't get me wrong, but is there a point to all these questions? Oh, there definitely is. I think it was reading your file that made me ultimately decide against turning this investigation upside down. Was it now? An immigrant from Eastern Europe comes to New York City, takes the position she always expected to find herself in, is molded into someone who is no longer herself. The story struck a chord. I felt like you were maybe ever so slightly pushing me to follow your way, to lose myself in a position of considerable power. I could see Julia Sawinski sharing Hanna Urbanova's fate, and to be honest, it scared the shit out of me. Catherine shakes her head. Funny. Ostrava is just 15 kilometers away from Poland's border. I know. I think I've been there once, when I was a kid. Parents love to travel. Who doesn't? She takes my smoke, turns back, takes a deep drag, and returns it to me. All of these long-established organizations, with time their practices always degenerate, start draining everything out of the participants, turn into a cycle of abuse aimed at no one in particular. But the funny thing is, if the victims aren't allowed into positions where they can perpetuate the abuse, they feel the abuse is aimed specifically at them. There's no winning move here. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I think. You're making excuses for yourself? She desperately tries to stop it, but she laughs. Sounds a bit like a harpy screaming, but it's strangely endearing. I take a drag of the citric she took from me earlier. My inner grade schooler excitedly informs me it's an indirect kiss. Let's walk outside. I need to close up shop. Dawn is almost here, and we still need to talk about how to get you out of Kaiser's grasp. I nod and follow her to the street. So I hear you've been living with a human. Yeah, it didn't work out. Oh, and why is that? I don't know how this do I dare to call it sisterly bond came to happen, and I know it can't last beyond tonight, but I'm savoring every second. Turns out she's been single white femaling me. I don't follow. I come home, I find her wearing my clothes, smoking my cigarettes, pretending to be me. Creepiest thing in the world. So you find out pretending to be someone else is the creepiest thing in the world. You see how it is? Aw, piss off, that's a low blow. Why would she do that? No idea. I yelled at her and saw her running out. She's probably back home now, I hope. No, I don't know. I know it looks bad, but maybe you should just, ask her why she did it, and then make an informed decision. What are you talking about? That would be reasonable. I don't do that. She loses herself in thought for a moment, visibly torn whether or not to tell me something. This might just be Ekaterina speaking, but I was thinking about you two and Carthage. Oh my god. Bruja always have to bring Carthage into this. Quick story. The city of Carthage, which has very famously been destroyed, that was in the World of Darkness, that's a city that was built and ruled by the Bruja. It was a test, essentially. It was a city where vampires were exposed. They openly said they were vampires, and they lived actually in codependence with humans, and it went well. It wasn't parasitic. It was great, actually. The city was doing very, very well. But some Ventru from a neighboring city was jealous to see the Bruja succeeding at making the perfect city, succeeding at making all of their subjects happy. They didn't want to admit somebody else had managed to do what they keep failing to do. So they built an army, teamed up with one or two other clans. I don't remember what the other clans are, and they trashed the place. That's how Carthage was destroyed. At the very least, it's the World of Darkness explanation of why it happened. When you read the books, a lot of historical events in our world happened in both worlds. It's just that in the World of Darkness, you get to see the layer behind, the real reason why it happened. It's usually something to do with vampires. Everyone is arguing with her about that name. Some people claim it has too much historical baggage. It's a myth. It didn't work. It was still vampires taking advantage of humans. But it's still a beautiful dream, and you two are like the embodiment of it. You mean that apocryphal story where Carthage was not destroyed because Romans were greedy for land, but because kindred and kind coexisted there in harmony? That's a pretty deep cut, you know? How long ago were you embraced again? I've been reading a lot to catch up. The earner journalist slash former copywriter in me refuses to die. Again, it might as well be a Katerina speaking, sending you to die for her pipe dream. But that's the best option I can think of to get away from here with a goal in mind. Listening? Head for the anarch-free state of California. Look for a man called Giles. If you're alone, you might have to do a lot to prove yourself. If you're with your friend, you might have to do a little less. If you succeed, you will be able to fight for the noble cause of establishing New Carthage. It's hopeless, but no matter what tough act Kadir is putting on, it's still better than waiting for Kaiser to act. Might as well give it a shot, and then see what's next. Thank you. Don't thank me, you idiot. I'm sending you to the West Coast to die, just so you're not here to blabber about me to Kaiser, and so that I can please my boss. Now scrap. The sun is almost up. Sure. Thank you nevertheless. Even if it's just to piss you off some more. Anything else I should know? I don't exactly know how practicing you are. Not even Father Leonard knows. But in an hour of peril, keep St. Jude, the patron saint of desperate cases, in mind. Not even religious. I mean, really. But in my darkest hour, someone told me to keep him in mind. And maybe I wouldn't be here if he didn't. Yeah, I know of St. Jude. In happier times, Mom used to joke he was the patron saint of her sex life. Wow. I see. Fellow Catholic guilt survivor, huh? The classic Eastern European upbringing. I'm not admitting to anything. Stay safe, Catherine. And thank you. See you again someday. Somewhere, Julia. Although, probably not. I wave at her for the first and probably the last time, and leave the Elysium behind. Hey. Hey. She's sitting on the bed. It's obvious she was crying before, but still trying her best to hold up. Where were you? I was, finishing my big investigation. She sniffs. So, how was it? I fucked it up. Big time. Didn't even put up a fight. Don't tell me you expected anything different. I did, actually. You used to be a shining example of an investigative journalist. Maybe I never felt comfortable being an example. The wince on her face proves that got to her. I'm not happy with who I am. Jesus, you're really copying me in every damn respect, aren't you? Fuck you, I'm being serious. I know. I'm not trying to be an asshole, or rather, trying not to be an asshole. We really are two leeches who got stuck to each other, huh? Like a two-person human centipede loop or something. An Ouroboros or a Mobius strip. I got lost in my own metaphors. I take out another smoke and slowly decide what to say. You're extremely good-looking, kind, endlessly energetic. You've got a steady job as an artist and an even steadier influx of cash. Why would you want to be someone else? You're extremely good-looking, clever, talented as fuck, immortal, and eternally young. But you still have that horrible deep well of self-loathing within you for some godforsaken reason, and it fucks me up as much as it does you. Probably. Yeah, I get it, but single white female? It was an impulse. It was the first time I did it, I swear. I don't know what got into me. The timing was just Fuck. Maybe I wanted to see if I can be a better you than you. Don't know. Maybe I need therapy, but I'm tired of looking for the kind of therapy that feels like it works and is not just brainwashing me. She might be lying, but I don't want to believe she's lying. I choose to believe she's not lying. What do I have to lose? I think I want to give it one more shot. She raises her head. Do you? Yeah, I think I do. There's one condition, though. She shoots me a cold look. What condition? I told you I fucked up my investigation, but not how badly. Well, looks like I'm no longer safe in NYC. I need to run first thing tomorrow evening, and the only way out I see is a bunch of loons living on the west coast who are trying to bring about a utopia where humans and vampires could coexist. It's probably even more dangerous than staying here, to be honest. Not to mention how dangerous it could be for you. And I haven't even figured out how we're going to get there safely, but yeah. I'm beyond tired of sitting on my ass, collaborating with monsters. This is the first page of the second chapter. This is a lot to take in. I know. But I think I'm in. I know I'm in. You've got a future. You've got rich parents. You don't have to do this. In case you missed it, having rich parents is like a goddamn, I don't know, original sin in my books. I don't want to coast on their money. I want to try doing something that fucking matters. Are you certain? About as certain as I am that the deep state exists. That's good enough for me. I'm off to sleep. The sun is probably already up. I'll pack up your clothes. What for? Are you planning to unleash Dark Dakota on me again? Don't say anything. As I said, trying not to be an asshole. It's a process. The day went by, and I woke up just like any other night. That was the first surprise. Dakota following through with the plan was the second. We're leaving the city. I don't know about her, but I'm kind of hoping it will burn the moment we leave. Fuck all these out-of-touch psychotic hassles who murdered Callahan and partied on his grave all week. Fuck the opportunists who couldn't even seize the moment and do what had to be done. Fuck this temple of Maimon where truth is impossible to find. Fuck the Bronx, fuck Brooklyn, fuck Queens, fuck Staten Island, and fuck Manhattan. Fuck Manhattan in particular. Okay, I'm done. Probably gonna try to stop at motels, drink from truckers and hitchhikers or whatever. Exciting. We'll be like a pair of serial killers prowling America's highways. Remember Near Dark, that nomadic vampire movie? Of course I do. Is that what we're planning to do in the Midwest? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll improvise. It just hit me. Won't the motels be... Won't the motels and such be closed because of the virus, though? Shit. I don't know. Didn't think about that. Maybe I really should have robbed the bank and just paid their circulatory system goons to smuggle us to the West Coast. Whatever. It might be fun. Remember, you'll be the one paying for everything. I don't want to expose myself to anything, and I don't want to expose anyone to anything. I've seen enough shit talking online about this exodus of New Yorkers who are probably spreading that thing all around the country right now. Gotcha. We should wash the car, I think, and you'll be disinfecting yourself before any time we touch. Okay? That's just being freaky. And maybe you should wear a mask. Nope. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave. Yes. Hey, yeah. Do you love me? Of course I do. For now, at least. Still don't know if I love her. Or if I can ever love anyone, for that matter. I'm a fucking monster after all. I don't even know if we'll exist next month. The prospects are not looking good. Although I can't even see myself in the rearview mirror right now, I will remember this image of us leaving the city. Somewhat melancholic. Somewhat hopeful, forever. And maybe the meaning of this image will be clarified with time. Or maybe I will just force a more positive description on it. That is what I'll believe. No matter what happens, even if oceans of blood lie before us, I will make this a cherished memory. However, possible salvation still remains for me. Achievement unlocked. Bad ending. It probably lies in the eyes of another. So we got the bad ending. Apparently we were not ruthless enough. I'm not sure I'm fond of that particular design. Because, honestly, we've been strategic, I think, most of the time. And ended up getting traits that were more, well, not ruthless, essentially. Sometimes because we were just picking the option that was a play, essentially. We were trying to sometimes make someone believe something just to get to a certain goal, and our answer, which was not a faithful answer, ended up being a true trait of the character. So that's a bit weird for me. And sometimes we made choices and she ended up doing something that was not at all what we thought was going to happen or what she was going to do. So while I really, really loved the game, no doubt about that, I had a lot of fun. I don't feel like I know what I did wrong, essentially. I know what I did wrong was not speaking out at the meeting at the end. She should have been... Music is loud. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. Okay. So I know she speaking out at the end is what would have been the correct ending, I think. That's the feeling I got. But I don't know before that, throughout the game, what choices we made that led her to being spineless, I guess, and not speaking out for herself. So, I mean, if we play this game again, well, we will be playing this game again, but I'll probably need to look into what are the correct choices so I know for sure I picked them up, because I wouldn't know what to change to get the good ending at this point. So I love the game, but I'm not quite sure about this design, especially since, honestly, we've been both. We've been sometimes where we let things go, and other times we've been really hard. So I think our playthrough could easily have gone both ways, so why not give us the choice at the end? We can choose everything all the way through the game, but suddenly when it's this choice that really matters, the game makes the call for us based on past decision instead of letting us choose should we stand or not. I understand that it's a good way to make people play the game again instead of just reloading that one save and choosing the other option or things like that. But then again, I mean, if you can see, I can't even go back to load because I'm done with the game. The only thing I can do is do a new game. So even so, they could have, with that design, they could have just given me the choice anyway, because I still need to play the game again to see the other ending, which is, I assume, what they were trying to do, to make players play the game for more hours, essentially doubling the length of the game. Would have been just fine. But anyway, I will look it up so that when we play the game the next time, I'll know what I did wrong, so I can make sure we get the good ending. That said, I was not disappointed. I mean, despite this being the bad ending, I mean, we ended up with Dakota going on a road trip. Sounds like a pretty cool thing. I mean, the circumstances are bad because people are going to try to kill her, but I mean, this is vampire. Seriously, someone's going to try to kill you sooner or later anyway, so it's kind of par for the course. So overall, I think the ending was pretty good, pretty interesting. A bit long, especially the part with Ekaterina felt like it should have ended way before that. They put a lot of time on Ekaterina. I'm not even sure I understood half of what was said about her being someone else. That was not very clear to me. It looked like she's a big deal, a big character that they really wanted to put attention on right there at the end, especially if, as I think, she's a character from another game. So I get why they did it. Not sure that's the path I would have taken, but I get it. It's fine. If you borrow a character, you want to do it justice. You want to give her screen time. It makes sense. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with Shadows of New York. I'm looking forward to seeing the other ending in a few weeks with you. But before we do that, we are going to be playing Heart of the Forest for a couple of weeks as well. I'm thinking we'll probably do 1 or 2 playthroughs of Heart of the Forest 2, because there's a couple of endings. I don't remember if it's been said publicly yet how many endings there are, so... Oh yes, it's in the trailer. So yeah, there are 5 different endings in Heart of the Forest. I've seen 2 of them, so we'll see next week what we're going to do with that. I don't know yet how we'll be playing. I know what I would like to show you, but I'm pretty sure the things that I really want to show you are things we're going to see regardless of the choices. So I'm probably going to be very open-ended next week, mostly follow the lead of what the chat thinks is cool and go with that instead of trying to target one of the 5 endings. I don't mind seeing an ending I've already seen. I'm probably going to play the game to bits anyway and see all 5 endings, if not on stream, on my own. I want to see the 5 endings, so I will definitely do that. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks how many endings we go through and how much time we want to spend on it, but I'm thinking probably we'll be streaming the game twice as well. We'll see where it goes. So thank you very much for sticking with me for longer than usual. Just really wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to finish Shadows of New York, and we did, so I'm very happy about that. And very happy about the game in general. That was really fantastic. I think really good vampire story, really good La Sombra story. Draw Distance, I think, have done fantastic job here, and I hope, I don't know, I have no insider knowledge, but I hope they're working on more of this. Cauteries was great. Shadows is even better, so whatever they're going to come up with for a 3rd game, I'm looking forward to. If it's Vampire, I'm going to be very, very happy. If it's something else, I'll be happy as well. But I don't know, so I guess we'll see. I will let you know if I learn anything. If anything is publicly announced, I will definitely be reporting that on this stream when it happens. But for now, thanks for sticking around. Thank you very much, Setmates, for doing this undercover research on the enemy, looking into how vampires do things. And we'll be coming back to Werewolf next week. And I can't wait. See you all next time. Thank you.